Live. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Otter Players Podcast, episode 33, where we're going to go over everything dealing with Astrobot and our first impressions, Wukong going crazy with the sales, Phil Spencer stepping up to see what we can get done with several of these deals going wrong, and so much more. But without that, and without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into our intros. Weeb, how are you, man, and what have you been playing?
Well, aside from having pain all over my body from a workout yesterday, I'm good.
The good
Um,
pain. The
Oh,
good pain.
yeah, I mean, today is really like I'm just gonna sit on my couch and play games because there's
There you
nothing else I
go.
can do.
Recovery.
Uh, yeah, recovery, exactly. Therapy, man. I have been playing a few games. Obviously, Star Wars Outlaws. Was playing that until you know what dropped. Um, still enjoying the game. Finally got off planet, which was a great relief to see because that was the game breaking bug they were talking about. That once you got off planet, you couldn't go back. But fortunately, it didn't was an issue for me, so I could continue playing. Yeah, I mean, it's still a lot of fun. It's obviously a Ubisoft game, so there's a lot of shit to do on the map. But other than that, if you're a Star Wars fan, definitely recommend it. Um, I've also tried a bit of Age of Mythology Retold on Game Pass. Um, they kept moving the date up ahead. I don't know what that was about because initially it was like the second and the third, and suddenly it was the 4th of September. Finally launched, and then yeah, played a bit of it. I mean, definitely a nostalgia trip. Though it did add a few new things like a new campaign, and there well, it wasn't included in the basic version, but they do have like new gods in the ultimate whatever edition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd say like I enjoyed, but I still stand by my position that you generally can play RTS games on the console. Like they did, no, have done a good attempt, at mapping all the commands to controllers and a controller button layout. But there's just too much. Like you that simple. So I'll probably reserve playing the full game when I get around to it on a gaming PC or laptop because I it's not gonna fly on a console. Though I do say there was one game in the past that actually did do it well on as an RTS on console. That was Command and Conquer 64 on Nintendo 64 because that actually did work. But that's I guess that's a unicorn in all the history of RTS games on console, unless they're something
you ever
peculiar
played
to
Red
do.
Alert on PlayStation?
Sorry,
Red Alert on PlayStation. You ever played that?
Red Earth.
No, Red Alert. Command and Conquer Red Alert.
On PC and PlayStation.
All right, no, I didn't play it. Okay, and other than that, played a bit of what's called the Dungeons of Hinterberg. Was also on Game
Intercell.
Pass.
Great
Yeah,
Okay.
game.
yeah, it was pretty fun, but yeah, I don't have the time to finish that because there's too much to play. And tried a bit of Creatures of Eva, if I'm not mistaken, was also on Game Pass. Uh, Actually, an exclusive for the time being for Xbox. It is. It reminds me a bit of Kenna because they're sort of this. Um, like you're stranded on an alien planet, and you're basically sort of exploring sort of the wildlife of a plant. So you can take pictures, and you can pet them, and but you sort of have to deal with an overall quest where there's corruption going on, and it was pretty good from what I've played. But yeah, I've paused because there's just too much things I have to put my attention to, including, of course, the game I'm currently playing, which is Astrobot, which I'm absolutely loving.
Let's go.
Yeah. Everybody is playing Astrobot, unless you're not a gamer. No. But it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, just once you start playing, you can't put it down. There's just so much love put into this, and so much fun, that this is one of those rare cases where everything they're saying about is true. All the praise is warranted. Like, it's just like, gameplay first. It basically, this is the most gamey game there is, as I say. But it's just just amazing how much attention they put into it. The details, the fun it has. Like, there's so much. Like, every time every level has stuff you can explore. Was collecting all the bots with the different costumes. That's amazing. And even being able to play a certain characters, it's like an Ape Escape level. There's like a God of War themed level where you get the axe, and you can actually I actually have like the God of War theme playing with the Astrobot twist. Like, there's so much love put into this. It's absolutely amazing.
All right.
Your base, you
Right.
can see all. Yeah, I just love like interacting with all all the bots, because you can buy them from the Gacha machine, buy them their equipment, and then you can just see them playing with it, and you can hit them, and then they mess up or something. Like, it's really fun.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I mean, absolute blast. Haven't finished it yet, but yeah, this is gonna be my jam until I plat this game, because it's that good. And yeah, I mean, it's people are saying it's up for GOTY this year, and I'm absolutely seeing this winning this year's GOTYs. If there's nothing else, no surprises this year, it might be locked in for winning it this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. No, again, it sounds like you are playing a plethora of top tier games, as per usual. Weeb never disappoint
Yep.
on the rotation. Morgan, how are you, ma'am, and what have you been playing? Uh-oh.
There, I've been playing also Star Wars Outlaws. I think I've got about 40 hours into it, and I'm just over halfway through the game. I know people have been saying like, oh, you know what?
Is she cutting out for you guys or no?
I really like the game.
Right.
And so they wanted to get it over with. Like, a lot of people were just beelining it. But I'm enjoying my time. I'm taking my time with it. I am enjoying it still thus far. Like I said, with like 30, 40 hours into the game, I'm still enjoying the game. I'm enjoying Kay as a character. I'm enjoying the story. I'm just letting it take me. I'm enjoying the cast of characters that Kay is, that is thrust upon Kay in this game. Like, it's starting to branch out more, and more characters are starting to join the story. But yeah, I am having a great time with Star Wars Outlaws, and I don't see that changing unless, like, the ending is just like, huh, but yeah, so far it's a strong 8 for me. So yeah, that's Star Wars Outlaws. But unfortunately, right now, what's taking most of my time and a lot of our time in this panel is, of course, Astrobot. It launched at a 94 on Metacritic, which is what I said. I said it would get in the 90s, and it did. I just knew this game was going to be something special. There was just something about it, We saw Team Asobi's kind of love letter to PlayStation at first with Astro's Playroom. We all enjoyed that. We all wanted we were all talking about how we wanted a full game out of Astro's Playroom, right? That, its purpose was to be kind of a tech demo for the PS5 and the controller. But we saw the potential there. It was fun. It was, engaging. It was short, but it had that element that, we wanted, that gamey game element, and that genre that PlayStation definitely needs, the platformer, and it was a good one. So we all wanted a full blown game, and then when they finally announced it, earlier this year, I think it was when it was announced, or last year. I think it was earlier this year.
This year, I think.
Yeah, we were just like, oh yeah, it's happening. They showed off a lot in that trailer. Everybody walked away from that state of play like, yeah, that was the game. Like, the state of play was horrible, but Astrobot saved that state of play because that ending was magnificent. We were all left excited. And then, we got to see impressions or hear impressions about it over the coming months. And everybody was just so elated, like, yeah, this game is amazing. You guys aren't ready. It's looking like it's going to gear up to be a game of the year contender. And so, the excitement was building, and then boom, it's finally dropped. We're playing it ourselves. And yes, like we've said, we can agree that, these aren't bloated scores. The game is just that good. The platforming is amazing. The love letter to PlayStation is, immense. Sometimes when games do this kind of thing, it can come off as like cheesy or like overblown, or like, okay, you're kind of doing too much. Like, we get it, you love PlayStation, or we get it, you love whatever, homage that they're paying to. But Astrobot does it in a way that's so engaging and so like light heart and heartwarming that you can't help but smile the entire time you're playing the game. Like, I'm smiling so much. Like, we pointed out, like, because it's not a spoiler, because obviously they showed this in the trailers, but like we've said, like the Kratos thing, like when he grabs the axe and he turns into Kratos, and now you have the axe now, you can throw it and retract it and everything that Kratos did.
They made it well. Question for you, very quick.
No, go ahead.
Do you think they actually talked to Santa Monica to get that gameplay right? Or do you think they figured it on its own?
Yeah, I don't think it was kind of necessary. I think they just wanted to pay homage to it, because I'm sure they've all, at least someone in there has played it.
I'm strictly talking about recalling the act. Do you think?
Nah, because you don't need to talk to Santa Monica to know how to do that. That's just I think that's just something they wanted to do. Because it's not like you're having to do it with like the fidelity of God of War, or the accuracy of God of War. It's just kind of like a little homage. So I think they were able to do that on their own. But that, and like just the little details, the fact that the God of War music was kind of remixed with the Astrobot music, it was just so great. I was just laughing the entire time. The fact that one of the trophies is getting all the little green ravens in that area, just like in Ragnarok, I was laughing. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, just
know what really got me? When we're playing a level and you die and then you come back and you're like roaring.
Yes, I saw that. I was talking to a Nate about that, because we were on the phone playing at the same time, and I was like, yo, when he dies, he does a little God of War roar when he comes back, like, I was like, those little touches like that were just fantastic. And I'm not gonna go into like any more spoiler territory about the other kind of homage they pay, but stuff like that continues to happen throughout the game, where whenever you're taking the characteristics of a well-known PlayStation character, they put those little quirks about that character into Astrobot, so you do their kind of quirks, and it's really well done, really funny. Like, they make fun of a lot of stuff. They even made fun of the big debacle when God of War Ragnarok came out about the shimmying. They put a shimmying section in the God of War where you have to shimmy through the wall. It was so funny. I was just like, okay, they're making fun of how everybody was crying about, the shimmying in the game, and just had me laughing and smiling. And I enjoyed that so much, and that's just one section out of many sections in this game. Like there's what they say 80 worlds in this game, or like so many bosses, so many levels. Like it's just the amount of bots that I have like in my home base now is insane, because I think I have like 217 right now. So my home base is just full of all the different bots, and in your hub world, they all like, do their own little thing that shows, that it pretty much encapsulates their character. Like Kratos is in the corner, in front of a campfire with Atreus, and just kind of brooding as he always does. Like stuff like that. I just love that, and the interaction between you and the bots do like little things. It's great. The gameplay is fantastic. It never gets old. Like every level has its own game mechanic, and yes, some gameplay mechanics repeat, but they're always done differently. In a different level, you use it differently. So it's just I'm like every level I'm excited. I'm like, oh man, what are we gonna do this time? What game mechanic are we gonna use this time? What boss are we gonna fight this time? Like how is Astro, getting from point A to B? Like what are the little quirk that we're doing for this level? And every level I walk away happy. Like I don't think I've been bored or upset or just not wanting to play a level. Like they've all been good to me. And like I said, this is after playing 100%ing 3 out of the 5 worlds that are in the game. And it's just so refreshing to play a game where just, you can just kind of focus on like the gameplay. It's just about the gameplay. It's just about having fun. It's a game. It's the games that we kind of grew up on. We started off on the Nintendo or Sega or whatever, Sega Genesis, whatever you play, like those type of games where it was just, just about having fun, gameplay focused, you could just lighthearted, funny type games. And I love this. I've been tweeting about it because I want everybody to know about it. I want people to support it. I want people to play it. I hope it does phenomenally well. I think with like we know, and we've seen, especially us, in this panel, in this community, that when a game hits a certain Metacritic, especially when it's 90 plus, it starts getting out of the zeitgeist of the just the hardcore, and people outside of that, the casuals, start to look at it. So hopefully the score will help, branch it into, because my brother's hella casual. I made him play Astrobot like a month ago. I'd completely forgotten to tell him when he got his PS5 to play it. And when I, tweeted that it was out, he was like, wait, it's out? Like, he was so excited. He was like, oh, okay, I'm picking it up Saturday. Because I was telling him, he's like, yo, because he was reading some of the reviews, and he was like, oh, shoot, they saying it's like Mario Odyssey. He's like, oh, okay. Because he loved Mario Odyssey and Mario Galaxy. So he was just like, all right, yeah, I'm bet. And I was telling him I was having a good time with it. So he was excited. So he's picking that up today. But yeah, I hope this game does well. We heard that it was apparently, supposedly, I can't confirm, but it was like 20 million to make this game, which is, even if that's not the exact number, we know it's way lower than the majority of PlayStation's typical games, right? That are usually hundreds of millions of dollars. And to see what you can do with such a low budget, you get at least high critical plays and hopefully high commercial success. I hope PlayStation sees this and is like, let's put a little bit more focus on these family friendly, fun type of gamey, platformish type games. And I hope Team Asobi, I know they're proud of their accomplishment, and shout out to them. They did a freaking amazing job. I love your game. And I hope we get a lot more Astro going forward. Like Nelson was saying earlier before the podcast started, like a Astro hockey game, Astro tennis game, whatever. They kind of do like a Wii Sports kind of situation with Astro, or branch it out and do other genres with Astro. I'm down for whatever Team Asobi feels they should do with this character, because he is now a beloved PlayStation staple. And he has a lot of potential to definitely be, he is now the PlayStation mascot, but to branch out and be up there with the likes of Mario, he has the potential to get to that point. So I hope PlayStation nourishes that relationship with Team Asobi and the Astrobot IP, and we get far more amazing games from this studio, because you can tell this was a love letter from them. They put their passion like behind this, and they did a phenomenal job. So shout out to Team Asobi. Great game. If you haven't picked up Astrobot, if you're thinking about it, yes, play it. People are saying, oh, if you don't like platformers, this won't be the game to change. No, that's not true. All right, Nate will test probably later when he's telling about his games. He hates platformers with a passion. I've tried to get him to play platformers with me, co-op platformers. I wanted him to play Sackboy Big Adventure with me. He played it for about an hour. He absolutely hated it. I couldn't get him to play anymore with me. He was just fuming the entire time. So I'll say, you know what, we don't have to play anymore. It's fine. But he's been loving Astro. So even if you're not a big platformer fan, right? I think this will be a game that you will love, especially if you're a PlayStation fan specifically. So I'm going to stop ranting and shout out to Team Sobe. That 94 was definitely deserved. Congratulations. And yes, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. As you guys can see, we can't stop raving about it. It's technically where I put the first topic, but everybody's kind of giving their first impressions anyway.
Oh, shit. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
You're fine. If it happens, it happens, and everybody can just. It's just I'm just telling them now so that they can just go ahead and give theirs as well, because you and we basically gave your first impressions. Next up, I know he's been playing it. I know his kids have been fighting about it. Nelson, I don't think you've been playing anything else, but if you have, tell us about it.
Wukong last weekend. I played Wukong most of last weekend.
Okay. And then, obviously, on the chopping block right now, we have Astro. So tell us your first impressions that you've had.
Well, I haven't gotten to play as much as I want to because it's causing an absolute war in my house. It's causing civil war. Everyone loves it.
As it
Everyone
should.
just wants to play. Everyone just wants to play it. Can't get them to play anything else. And yeah, it's causing a lot of violence. Moment.
No doubt. But yeah, I get it. Like you said, the kids come first, so they're obviously having a ball. They're really enjoying it. And then, you'll get your turn eventually as the parent, so I definitely get that.
I'm playing right now, but as soon as
yeah.
I go to make dinner, believe it, they're going to be fighting over it.
Absolutely. Takes no time. I understand that growing up with siblings, so when you're ready to play, you're ready to play.
I'm loving Wukong too, but that's got to take a back seat because there's just so many games out right now. Space Marine just came out too, and then you got Astrobot. And then I'm gone next weekend for a wedding. I might have to take some vacation. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like a busy time of the year for you. So I feel for you. I ain't trying to go nowhere. So
wrong time of the year.
Exactly. Omar, man,
y'all should have got married in June or something.
What have you been playing, sir?
Okay, so Dragon Age Vanguard, but we're not gonna talk about that.
You mean
we already
Inquisition?
did. I mean Inquisition. Thank you. So I had to rectify a few things. One, I never got the plat for Otter Playroom, so I went ahead and did that. It was not like challenging or stuff, just busy work, like do this, do that. So I had to look up how it's done and did it. I made sure to get the secret characters. Shout out to Asobo for recognizing the greatness that is Celine in Returnal, and also Bloodborne. That's another game that I'm not talking about a lot. But yeah, and then Atrobat, what can I say that haven't been said? Actually, quite a few. First of all, the music. Amazing. Yes, Morgan said it when he encountered Kratos and, well, Botos, and you hear the music. But the funny part is, the music actually stopped at certain point. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. I want you guys to have the experience for yourself. Other than that, I am in love with the building of your PlayStation 5. I feel like a fucking surgeon trying to fix my PlayStation 5. ev- every time after finishing an area. I love that moment. I am having a blast. Another thing, the gameplay mechanic, Pikmin like that shit is great. I'm I'm loving. I love seeing the characters that I grew up with, whether I played most of them or not, but I know all about them like they are in the gaming culture, and I love seeing their mascot, and I'm grabbing on them. I'm using them as a stepstone to solve a puzzle. Like there is something uh, satisfying about that. Um, it's a love letter. It it's not only a love letter; it's a statement. We have heard it for how many years now? The PlayStation is a one-trick pony. That all they can do is over-the-shoulder action third person. Well, this is third person, but this is a platformer. You know, a platformer like many other platformers that I have played before. Um, I love what's called Sackboy Adventure. Like that was my jam. This one tops it. It's all about the dual sense implementation, man. What? It's not like this game have a deep story. It doesn't. Its story is superficial, but it's okay because it makes up for it with the cameos, the music, the gameplay, the platforming, and the power up that you get. Also very quick, I love as Asobo not only paying homage to the game, but also to the developers. Um, the main boss is apparently a reference to the main boss from the very first VR game that got they had support by from put out a tweet giving a Asobo shout out for that. Like these small little things, that's what makes this game amazing. Will it win GOTY? I want to. I genuinely want to. I want to believe that it can be the underdog in the face of like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Because to me, that so far is the number one nominee. Not in my opinion, but I believe in the media opinion. As for me, this is GOTY. This is my GOTY so far. I don't think I'm gonna be able to play something that's going to top it. Despite the fact that I played Prince of Persia, like, yeah, this is GOTY. I'm leaving it at that. Shout out to Osaka for this one.
Oh man,
Also,
it beat
PlayStation.
out a Metrovania. Y'all don't understand how big of a accomplishment that is with Omar. That's insane.
Yeah, it is.
Oh
PlayStation,
man.
they need to make sure every single person in this studio is secured and for life. Because they have something that Nintendo have. It's a mascot. I truly believe they can make Astrobot the face of PlayStation. It's about them, how they perceive from there.
All right,
That's about it for me.
cool. Well, as everybody can see, everybody is really loving the game, having a ball with it. Um, I myself am also playing it alongside, still getting to the end of Black Myth Wukong, which I'm thoroughly still really enjoying, and that game just keeps getting a lot better. I also got 40K Space Marine. I haven't really gotten a chance to start it because it's been nonstop Astrobot since it pretty much came out. But I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, I picked that up on PC. given the performance issues and things going on with that game. So thankfully, I have that option, and I can't wait to jump into that as well. As for me, my Astrobot uh, experience thus far, like Morgan said, it's been a lot of fun, which is a really surprising thing for me in particular. I mean, I did like the one that came with the PlayStation, but this is just head and shoulders above that in so many ways. They've managed to make the game incredibly dynamic and constantly evolving, always changing, which gets rid of that mundane or tedious feeling that I tend to get from these types of games. And I'm just enjoying it thoroughly. Like again, like I said, platformers are about at the bottom of my list when it comes to games that I enjoy playing. Probably right above puzzle games. So it's saying a lot for me to really, really enjoy a game like that. And what? What happened?
Okay, so I wanted to not say, I'm not sure if you're catching it, but
Yeah, I was gonna say.
every
Mhm.
few sentence you disappear, but also Nelson disappeared, and a few
Yeah, it was.
others.
Yeah, it
This
was happening with everybody.
It's
this
just Discord.
Yeah, the
Discord is
voices are
having a
fading
big issue, so I'm not
in
sure if
and
you
out.
can fix it.
I mean, it's just Discord. There's nothing to fix. It's literally just Discord. Like, there's no. I'm not dropping. Uh, I'm not dropping frames. I'm not in OBS. I'm not like nothing is lagging. It's just Discord's just being weird.
But I remember this happening at Vitamin G, but with us we didn't have that issue, so I'm not sure. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, I already knew that.
Okay.
I asked that earlier, but nobody heard me when I asked because you guys would drop out every now and then when you were speaking, but it was only for like it was only for like 2 or 3 seconds. So I
Yeah.
was just like whatever. And it's not happening all the time, so I was just like whatever, just fight through it. Um but yeah, like I said, if it was lag or something, like I'd look at it, but there's like I said, there's no like I can see Discord and voice connectivity is completely green. It's not dropping. Nothing else is dropping. So yeah. Anyway,
Okay, my bad.
like I was saying, yeah. So like I said, yeah, the game's been a lot of fun. Like I said, the biggest takeaway for me is like I said, just how dynamic everything is. The incredible level design, which is just immaculate. Like I can't express that enough. It's something you really got to experience for yourself. Like hearing people talk about it isn't really going to do it justice until you get to see how the stages flow, the way they change up, and the mechanics that they introduce continuously through the game. You know, a game with 80 levels. You know, that's a tall task. For each of these things to give all these different challenges that they do with these extra levels. It's definitely something worth fully playing through. Unlike the people who are claiming the game is about 6 hours, that is an absolute ridiculous lie. For the record, you can speed run the game by skipping a bunch of content, but you're not playing the game in its entirety. So the game in its entirety is not 6 hours. So whoever's telling people that is lying. But yeah, like I said, I really just can't express it enough without feeling like I'm talking in circles. But again, the game is just a lot of fun. It's probably just because, like I said, I do have that bias where I'm not the biggest platforming fan, but the game itself has gotten past that on its own, and I'm really enjoying it. It probably still won't be my game of the year, just because I've really enjoyed some other stuff a lot.
What
Nick,
separates
it,
this from Sackboy? I'm genuinely curious.
you didn't just hear 98 things that I just praised it for.
Yeah, I heard you, but
Sackboy does none of that.
I mean, okay.
So we're not arguing. I'm telling you. You asked me, that's the answer. Sackboy does none of that, and it is boring. Also, I cannot stand the isometric view of camera choice in Sackboy. I hate that shit. Whoever thought that was a good idea, I don't know. I don't want to wish anything on people, but yeah, they should never design a camera again in their life. So yeah, and obviously we've had issues with cameras before in other games. When you're fighting the camera as a gamer, that's not something that's fun in the slightest. So yeah, there are several issues with Sackboy. It is nothing like this, and it is nowhere near this level at all. So yeah, but again, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, my first impressions is I'm really just loving the game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I am getting to the point where I definitely have to take breaks because some of the challenge levels and stuff can get pretty annoying. And when you're fatigued and you don't really notice it, you start making a lot of stupid mistakes. So it's nice to take a break in between, make sure you rehydrate, do all the other good things that we're supposed to do, and move on from there. But again, congrats to the team. They did a phenomenal job. Hopefully everybody gets to experience it that wants to, and they should. Like I said, the game is incredible and deserves to be experienced by anyone and everyone. But again, a lot of fun, and yeah, can't really say too much more about it. I'm sure it'll be highly rated for me this year, and I'm loving it. So, but yeah, technically, like I stated, that was our first task on there, was everybody's first impressions. But since obviously you see everybody couldn't really hold back, so that's fine. It was a lot more organic that way, and everybody just kind of got to get it out there. We did want to also move on to our second one, where we just wanted to shout out Black Myth Wukong. Went on to sell 18 million on 2 platforms. Obviously, it's only on PlayStation and PC right now, and plays great on both. Stop listening to people who are out here lying. Again, I don't know what that's like a theme lately on gaming Twitter or what have you. A lot of insecure gamers lying about games, claiming they're unplayable and all these other things. So I have Black Myth Wukong on both PC and PS5. Plays fine on both. I had a great time playing my time on PS5 as well. I do have a 4090 though, so I went on ahead and pushed through the game further on PC. It just gives me a little more freedom to tune things, and the responsiveness with NVIDIA Reflex and some other things I have going on that allows me to play the game in a way that I like to better. But yeah, like I said, if you're a fan of those games, I know a lot. I know they particularly said it's not Souls-like, but it's pretty damn close. So I'm not going to sit here and tell people it's not. You are managing your stamina and a bunch of other things that are very, very, Souls adjacent if people want to. But again, like I said, not to take anything away, but if you can persevere through it and the difficulties, because it's not easy. You got some people running around like, man,
it's not easy, but it's not as hard as Souls, but it's going to be frustrating.
Yeah, people are like, I eat Souls for breakfast. So, it took me like people acting like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I ain't never died once in this game. And it's like, all right, now calm down. Again, people, overselling how not hard it is. Like, we're not going to do that. Like, it will bust your ass. Like, I'm not going to mess with people. And I've seen plenty of people who are big Souls fans get their ass beat too, despite them claiming it was mad easy or it wasn't that hard. But yeah, to your point, Nelson, I do think that it is fair. Like, I feel like if you died, it's probably because you made a mistake. Like, I haven't really come into anything so far that feels cheesy. And that's kind of something that's really famous for Souls. You get a lot of bosses that just cheese or like flash you to death with like light rays so you can't see and all this other weird stuff.
Or something comes from off screen and kills your ass from nowhere. Like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
It's nothing like that. It's you fucked up or you came in with a bad strategy. One of the two.
Yep. Yeah. So again, man, shout out to them. They got through all the nonsense, all the people, trying to drag it down, to sell 18 million plus copies and still going clearly because it's only been 2 weeks. I mean, heaven only knows whatever this game is going to end up selling by the time it's done. But hopefully the team, really takes it to heart and works on the game thoroughly. Looks like they're planning some DLC or an expansion for the game, especially due to all the success. Where they go from there, I don't know, but shout out to them and a lot of the other Asian teams working on some phenomenal products. The Asian market as a whole has been carrying this generation, or not generation, but this year in particular, with Stellar Blade and Wukong, and even Rise of the Ronin, both really good games as well. So
And Rebirth,
yeah, you said what?
Grand Blue.
Rebirth, and Grand Blue. Yeah, so many games.
Yeah, so many. I mean, honestly, they're just killing it lately. But yeah, I mean, I don't. It's not much of a discussion. I think only really Morgan's not was playing it, but did you have anything you wanted to add, Morgan? I know you were playing it, but
Okay, sorry. I'm on my portal right now. I was in the middle of a challenge mission. You said anything
No.
about what now?
about Black Myth Wukong, we were just basically congratulating
Oh,
the team on selling 18 million, and you know the success for them and other
yeah,
Asian
great,
teams.
a great success for them. You know, not surprising. It I think it deserves 18 million. For a first shot at a AAA game. They did a great job. 18 million.
It did.
When it did.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're fine.
Okay.
That
Sorry
studio
about the technical
did?
difficulties.
Like, if they can just improve on a couple things and they kind of know what they gotta fix and whatever, that the next one, if they make like a Wukong 2 or something, I haven't been to the end of the game yet,
Yeah.
but shit's gonna be a wrap. Like,
Yeah,
they're
they're
gonna
talking
lock
about
up
working on
that
a
game of the
sequel
year.
or
No,
some DLC or something. But yeah,
there's
they did a really
minor
good
things
job.
they can turn into all-time fucking like game. There's not a lot they gotta do either.
Yeah.
Couple improvements here and there.
But for their first time at a AAA game, I think they did a great job. Like a lot of people thought the game wasn't going to look the way it did when they first released the trailer, but they definitely knocked out the park and showed people that even if you make an Unreal 5 game, you can in fact include gameplay in that game. It is possible, unlike some games. But yeah, great job, great start. It doesn't matter where these sales came from, to be honest. Them making it a whole big deal, like we said last week. I'm not gonna go crazy into it because we covered it last week, but people making a big deal about it, selling mostly in China. That does not matter. Sales are sales. A success is a success, no matter where the success
and
is.
rupees, it's all fucking money.
It's all money. So congratulations to the team. They did a great job. I had just finished chapter 2, so I'm on chapter 3. So hopefully at some point, with the crazy amount of games that we have finally coming out in the fall, I'll be able to get back to it. Hopefully, because I was having a good time with it. But yeah, congratulations to Game Science. Great game. Amazing sales. So I could definitely see it as a nominee for the game of the year, but then again, with the way the journalists were treating it, maybe not. So
No, it's gonna get the Hogwarts treatment.
it'll depend. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Weeb, did you want to add anything? I mean, I think we kind of said it, but
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously we celebrated success last week, and we talked about, so I don't think there's much else to discuss. I do agree. I don't think it's gonna be up for game of the year because of the score and the way the journalism is treated, because they're obviously the ones who are voting it in.
yeah.
So yeah, but to just to piggyback on what Omar said in his intro, I think you're overestimating how much journalists like Rebirth. I think Astrobot is definitely in the lead right now. But hey,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
No, no doubt. Yeah. So again, man, like I said, just so many games coming out, so much to actually celebrate in gaming, which is nice for once. There's been a lot of negatives and layoffs and other stuff like that. So to see a bunch of these games kind of thrive right now and really be celebrated. It's nice to see. I see Stage in the chat said, he's out here playing Star Wars Outlaws, catching up with us. It's nice to see him playing something current because I know he was digging in that backlog real deep lately. So hopefully he's enjoying Star Wars Outlaws and really having a ball with that. Because I have so far from where I've played, but I know Morgan has gotten a little further. She's flexing the swag, the drip a little bit on Twitter with her white fur coat, and everything. So
yeah, that trip was crazy.
yeah, so yeah, I mean it helps a lot, man. I love the customization. I'm always a big proponent of customization, so to see that got me excited to want to get further and up my game as I'm saying the latest smuggler to the Star Wars universe. But yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens from here. Like I said, lots to celebrate at least, and that's a nice change of pace. Despite some recent downturns, one of which we'll go into right now. So obviously Concord came and went. Uh, PlayStation released it to at least some fanfare from the people who have played it and were really loving it. I mean, we've seen some pretty solid hours put in from people. 50 plus, 80 plus hours people were dropping on this game. Having a lot of fun with it. But it looks like initial sales didn't quite catch up to that fanfare, and it looks like PlayStation went on ahead and has pulled the cord. You've probably heard about it by now already. So the game servers are definitely offline. The initial statement was they're going to pull it and reevaluate. People are obviously speculating on what exactly that entails, based on what we know. The sales approximately being about 25,000 estimated from sources. What they think is going to happen with it going forward. I personally think the smart thing is reconfiguring it for free to play, but I don't know how long that takes. I don't know how worth it they'll think that is. But yeah, I know in particular this was something that Omar wanted to go over and kind of get the tone and see what everybody thought. So Omar, as far as Concord, going down and its development and all these things, what do you want to add? How do you want to go about it?
I don't think he heard you because it kind of went down. Omar, he's giving you
Oh,
the
me?
green light
No,
to go.
I didn't hear my name.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, Concord. Dude, but I need to make that statement as always. I haven't played the game, so I'm not gonna talk about the game story, the game anything. All I'm talking about is how it did. That's it. It did abysmal. It actually made history. I don't recall a PlayStation IP or just any IP that game at a live service that got killed that quick. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like a double-edged sword in a way. Like, great that they killed it, but at the same time, it makes you question how fickle is PlayStation when it comes to these live service games. Do they know how to pick them, yes or no? Because they have some great hit with think they were aware that Helldiver 2 is gonna be a success because they don't even have a custom controller made for it. Yet they had one made for Concord. And
I don't think a custom controller deems that because they have a lot
I
of
mean,
first party.
oh, you cut off.
I was saying I don't think that's an indication because they have a lot of successful IPs that don't have custom controllers. Like Horizon doesn't have one. It's I don't think that's necessarily a
I
indication
got you.
that they don't believe in it.
With this one, it make you question what's next for PlayStation for their Game of Life service, but also what is what I'm I'm not gonna lie. Um, um, I'm I'm happy, but at the same time not happy. In the sense of I'm happy that they realized it's not doing well and they killed it right out of the bat, but at the same time that with all their live service games that don't do well, that's gonna make them lose money up to wazoo. And very quick disclaimer: this game is not being in development for 8 years. Like that's a lie. It's been an idea for 8 years, but the actual development time is apparently around uh, 4 years. The studio exists for 6 years, and the game itself is apparently it's been around for 4 years. Which it just yeah, I'm irritated with the games later in general. Like some games are gonna survive, others aren't. But to die that quick, it's uh, it's a tough pill to swallow. It makes you question what's gonna happen to the studio and if they're gonna get another chance, or because they really need to go back to the drawing board with this one. I also think that there is a fatigue among first person shooter hero games like Overwatch and stuff like that. So yeah, Rip to Conquer, shout out to PlayStation for making history in 1 week, elevating one of the best game with Astrobot and releasing what arguably the worst game that I've ever done commercially, which is Conquer. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was seeing what War was saying in the chat. He said, he bought it, despite what he was thinking, um, about the game looking like a Wish Guardians of the Galaxy, which I agree. That's what it looked like to me.
That's what we all saw when we first saw the reveal.
Yeah, that they definitely kind of showed the camaraderie of Guardians of the Galaxy and so on and so forth. But again, man, like I said, it's not to take away anything from anyone that enjoyed it. Like I said, I'll never say it's a bad game because I didn't even want to play it. But I mean, there are definitely some things that I hope they learned from launching the game and seeing the reception, um, and seeing what it takes to make something launch commercially. Obviously, there was a lot of criticism about the way the characters looked. Uh, desire to want to play something or to play as as a certain character or something is important. I think that's something they need to, keep in mind when designing stuff for the future. I mean, even when you think of it, when you look as a kid, right? Everybody wanted to be the coolest character or who they thought was the coolest character. If you even look at things like Power Rangers or whatever, like half
Green
the time,
Ranger. Everybody wanted to be the Green Ranger.
yeah, he had the coolest thing. He had the vest on. He was supposed to be the strongest. Then he
And the
came
flute.
back in
The
the flute.
green, I always
Exactly.
thought the red or the black one is the strongest.
No, so when Tommy came out first, Tommy was stronger than all of them, especially when he was like the evil Green Ranger.
Yeah, he took on the
yeah,
whole team
yeah.
and kicked their ass.
Yeah,
Evil, yeah, evil.
yeah.
But that I thought that was always because of evil. But okay,
Yeah,
right.
no, yeah, he was still always deemed to kind of be the strongest, and then he came
Mm.
back, and again, even as the White Ranger, and he had all the cool toys. He could summon his Zord solo. He didn't need the other team to like fight. Like, there's so many cool things, right? Like, the cooler the character, the more people kind of wanted to play it, or you kind of want your characters to have that design mentality where when kids play outside, they want to be that character. um, and yeah, so some of those designs were definitely questionable.
Is
But
it fair to
yeah,
say that they could have easily uh, played devil advocate in the sense of make design like this, but also make quote unquote normal design?
I mean, the normal is debatable. I mean, because someone's normal is not my normal. But I'm talking about, that's why I'm just talking about from an appealing standpoint. It just didn't seem to be there because you can at least surmise that from the reception and how people were discussing the game and how the characters looked. So that was more so the issue. And like some people thought it was just like the fact that we had this discussion on Brap, right? It's not so much about making characters sexy as it is making characters cool. Like, none of the characters seemed really cool, right? Like, nobody was like, dang, I really want to play that character, right? Like, I brought up Borderlands 1, for instance, right? When it was a brand new IP, I immediately gravitated towards Zero because I thought he was a dope character. You cannot see his face or anything. It's not about making a character sexy. It's about making a character desirable and wanting to put, wanting your fan base to want to play that character. Um, and like Zero, like I said, for me, immediately he was an assassin, sniper capability. I immediately thought about critical damage, sniper rifles, poison, all that stuff, and so on and so forth for the other characters, fitting their particular design philosophies and things of that nature, and really sticking to that. And that's a big reason why people love Borderlands 1 and 2 and a lot of stuff like that. It's a lot of the characters that are involved with the game, right? Even when you talk about stuff like Apex Legends, which again, a game that I'm not really into like that, right? But what I could tell you after watching a friend of mine play for the past 8 years, one thing I can tell you is people really love those characters. They love the designs. They love the skins that are added that they get to work towards. The legendary skins do some phenomenal, crazy things, and it's the same thing for games like League of Legends. So it's like it's not exclusive to a single player or multiplayer. This is everything. Whenever you're designing characters, you've got to design characters that people want to play or that are cool or stand out, right? Um, in a good way. Um, and I think again that there's no one thing that the game did wrong. That's like, oh, you want to design cool characters? Cool, everybody would have wanted to play. No, I mean, competition is stiff. The market is heavily saturated, and you've got to do something personally to me unique that is going to pull people away. Because if you're just going to do more of the same or do something similar with a slight twist, like you're not necessarily going to pull a ton of people who are already neck deep in a lot of other multiplayer games. Um, so I mean that I think they ran into a world of issues when it comes to that game with as far as gas and needing to pull people from other games, and it's just like that kind of that it factor honestly just wasn't there. Nothing in
Like
particular.
blood, guts, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
these characters like blood, guts, and gore, dude. That I think that would have got them. It might not have been a massive hit, but I think it would have done a lot better than this.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have its own particular thing, right? Like the identity, like they talked about it.
It had
Uh,
no identity. It was
yeah,
amalgamish of a bunch of other shit.
yeah. Paris had a space talking about it, and he was talking about it with some people who had played the game, and you could see where a big miss was happening, where they were kind of explaining that some stuff that would have done well outside of the game and being presented to people that weren't playing needed to be, and they were like, oh, it's in the game though, oh, you can go here and they'll tell you about the character, or you can do this and they'll explain how the character works and this, that, and the third, but like none of that was really promoted outside of the game. And it was like, again, when you're introducing something new, you've got to promote it in a really specific way to make it desirable. Another aspect was that the free gunner system, right, was apparently not present in the beta, and was later, once you played the official game. But a lot of people didn't know, again, unless you played the game. So yeah, there was a lot of misses in terms of information and things like that. Again, I don't think, I think all these things needed to be improved. Not one thing. I think there's just a lot of things. But I mean, as far as the gameplay itself, like I said, all I can surmise from that, based on the people who played it, like I said, they had fun. Um, it looked like a very Destiny-esque gunplay, which is not a bad thing. For a game that usually gets praised for having the best gunplay in the business. But if you don't get that initial it factor, then it's not going to really help you. But yeah, I don't know. Weeb, what's your opinion on this? What do you think kind of went wrong, or how do you feel about the whole thing?
I mean, I think exactly like you said, it wasn't appealing. Like, I mean, there's obviously a lot of things that, in terms of the choice they made. I think what was PvP, right? So that's sort of the hero shooter genre. That's something that yeah, was that they're like a couple of years too late to jump into that. So what's the wrong time, the wrong genre? I mean, sure, there's always a risk with GOS games. Like, I guess there's also a testament to show you it's not just easy money. It can fail really hard. We have had a number of those. Like, I mean, you had Suicide Squad that flopped really hard. Like, it shows you that this isn't as easy as people think it is to make a successful GOS game, which I guess is also fortunate because obviously that would mean everybody would be just making GOS games, and I think and I kind of um, get where Omar's coming from because and I'm not saying he's cheering this on, but he's happy indeed. He sort of has mixed feelings because on the one hand, obviously you don't want to celebrate the failure of a game and worry for the studio. But on the other hand, it's also sort of sending a message that just going double downing on GOS uh, you know isn't gonna work, right, or necessarily work for you. And Sony has had obviously success with Helldivers, so it's not that they can do it, but this definitely was something I think many of us kind of saw that it was not gonna work, right? It had everything against it from the beginning, and I think what you said, like it's as big as a tractor, is just that it's not very appealing. That the
Mm-hmm.
characters weren't very very appealing. Like when I saw those, like I don't know the green dude or whatever, like I think this is sort of
Green
this feels
Lady.
now there was a dude as well thing, but it just feels like very cheaply designed characters, right? Like very very much like what would be an NPC in another game, and I'm like, are these the characters I'm supposed to control? Is this like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's not that easy. I mean, it's easy for us to talk about this because we're not game developers and we don't know how much work goes into this. Oh yeah, that's a cool character design. I don't even need to know what their story is. I want to play this character, and they didn't have any of those. So it was kind of the signs were on the wall there that it was going to fail. As for why Sony's doing this so quick, I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to be the like winning any records or whatever, because I mean we had games like Lawbreakers who failed also quite quickly. So I
Yeah.
mean, if it's dead, it's dead, right? I mean, I don't think you're gonna have to you want to postpone or you have any hope that's gonna do any better. Like I think what they did is like you said, probably going to come back as a free to really going to be dead and nobody's gonna ever play it. Like if you take it back and maybe show some goodwill, give refunds and then bring it back as a free to play game, maybe you can salvage it. I think there's other considerations probably. Astrobot was coming out, so they have a show, or they're going to show up in with on a Tokyo Game Show. They kind of probably want to get the sort of bad publicity out of the way, because obviously you also have to consider that it might contaminate your other IPs, your other games coming out. Because if you have a bad game come, that Jade Raymond game, I keep forgetting the name. I also have no
Fair game.
Fair game. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Omar. Like that game is it. I'm sorry to say, but I expect that game also to be dead on arrival. I can't imagine that game's gonna succeed purely from a conceptual position. But I mean, maybe can surprise they will surprise us. But at least they haven't done themselves any favors with a game like Helldivers. When you saw that immediately appealed to. Sorry.
It was very original.
Well, technically, it's a sequel.
Well, you know what I'm saying. There's
Yeah,
not 100 of them out there doing the same thing.
But you immediately had something, right? Yeah, when you saw like, oh yeah, this looks interesting, right? This is fun. This is something that might be worth your time. And if you're looking at what they've seen, yeah, we've seen with Concord, didn't look very interesting from the get-go. And well, we haven't seen much from the other GOS games. I think there's also Marathon, but also seems to be in trouble from what we've heard. So there's a good chance that all of these games have a high risk of failing, which they have anyway. But at least they don't seem to have anything going for them that might turn that around. I think that also something that they're considering. They probably want to get Concord gone as quickly as possible, because if they kept it going, then once they're ready to reveal or to announce a release date for their next game, one of the other GOS games, then people might think, oh yeah, but didn't you just drop Concord, and that was a massive flop, and nobody's playing that, so why the hell would I invest my time in any of your other GOS games? So so either they're gonna bring it back as a free to play, or they're just gonna bury it and not talk about it anymore and hope people forget about it when the next GOS game drops. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it sucks for the developers. It obviously it's never fun. The game fails, and if you had fun with it and bought into it, yeah, I mean, it also sucks to be you, I guess. It's obviously not fun, but like I said, I'm not surprised it's failed. I mean, this is very similar to how I felt about Anthem, and there were also a lot of people cheering that on, and had that had at the very least had some appealing designs in terms of the mech suits that you could control, but it had everything against it when you're basically
content. That was a great game.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the content. This
Yeah.
didn't have anything.
Yeah, but it's a clean mismatch of talents. I mean, we were talking about Bioware, and then you're gonna let them do a GOS game, and then it doesn't have they were definitely misadvertising that. They're telling you, oh yeah, no, but it's gonna be different because we have Bioware and they're gonna tell a great story, and that didn't turn out to be true. That just love bullshit.
Is
And
it fair to say that God just simply not feasible? Like, it's difficult to nail God. You either get lightning in a bottle, or you get a flop so bad it kills your studio.
well, yeah, that's entire. I mean, to be fair, that can be the case for any game.
Yeah, I was
Obviously, I
gonna
mean,
say
if
that could be
you're
any game.
if you're an independent studio and you can drop a single player game and it fails, and that could be the end of your studio. So with GOS, like it's if you succeed, you can make a lot of money. But the other side of the coin is that it's pretty hard to break through. Meaning a single player game, it could have lags because people might pick it up and then play later when their backlog clears, or it might gain traction, right? But with GOS, like if it doesn't get going right away, then it's dead because then there's no reason to keep the servers alive if nobody's playing the game. So there's no it, then it's dead, and they will move on. They will cut their losses and move on to the next one. So it's the window for success is much shorter for a GOS game. So that's why you see things like this, that they're just gonna basically cancel the game in a very short span of time, because it's not gonna change, right? It's not gonna pick up. Like if the game was served modded at a possible, of course, but you need to have a certain critical mass and certain, like if you're seeing it that nobody's playing it and it's selling so poorly, then there's no chance in the hell that you're going to turn that around. So you're not going to, at least the gamble will be too high, too risky. So yeah, I mean like yeah the problem is, Omar, is that if you succeed, if you're one of the lucky few, yeah, you can make a lot of money, and that's why people keep trying. It's the same reason why people still go to the casino and hope that they're going to win the jackpot, because some people do, and they feel like it's easy. Or the thing that what they want the most is recurring revenue, right? That's kind of thing. Like with a single player game, obviously you can have DLC and stuff like that, but in the end, it's just you're making money right when you release the game, and it might have lags, but you're not gonna get. You have to then keep on making more games, and with GOS they can sort of just keep making content instead and keep supporting that game, and only after, I don't know, a decade or whatever, or 5 years or something, you can make a sequel of that game. So you don't necessarily have to keep on developing new IPs or trying to top your previous iteration in the series. That is easier than the investment you have to make to develop a completely new game from the get-go, and it's a high risk because if it's a new IP, you have no idea how it will be received. But yeah, the other hand is you can't just that's also, I think, like I said, with Anthem why it failed. Like you can just turn around a single player studio and decide, okay, you're gonna do GOS now, because that completely changes how your studio operates. That's the very reason why Naughty Dog canceled Factions too, because they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to go that route, because that's what you had to do. You could not just do both. It's not sustainable. So yeah, but like in the end, like I said, suck for Concord. But yeah, I kind of don't want to say, but I was gonna say I told you so, that this was not gonna work. And on the other hand, I mean, there's probably gonna be some that succeed with, like, it's not gonna be that Sony's not gonna make any successful GOS games after Helldivers, and they're gonna probably keep on trying. But at some point, you also have to realize that your strength are your single player games, your blockbuster games. And I know that they're not that comfortable with that risk, that you have to spend a lot of money up front and hoping that it succeeds. But I mean, this is what you're known for, and this is your bread and butter. And I say stick to that. And if you can have a successful GOS games on the side, that's fine. But never go full GOS, because you can see what happens. That there is no sensible strategy in that, if that's not what you're good at, right? It's like, just like Nintendo is doing great with their IP, like stick to that. and either leave that to third parties, or like make sure that you just keep that, give it its place, but never make that your primary focus.
No, I agree. I mean, and to further the point of what Omar asked, is it feasible? I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, there's plenty of successful gas games, so yeah, I mean, of course it's feasible, but like the reality is just that even when successful, right, like Helldivers 2, a lot of developers underestimate what it takes to continue to support a game that is a gas game. They think you could get away with a little here, a little there, and don't really pay attention to what some of the big guys are doing, right? Fortnite gets brought up a lot for all of its success, but like most of Epic is working on that game alone, when they're not, besides their separate team that work on the Unreal Engine, right? Like this team is fully dedicated to this, to the amount of
Also,
things that get
Fortnite
updated.
have different modes now.
Well, as I'm saying, Fortnite has a ton of different ones. Fortnite is basically, it's not only just Fortnite anymore. I mean, I went to visit my nieces and nephews last night, and they were playing the Guitar Hero looking mode in Fortnite. And it's like, you're talking about a game that's expanding beyond its original scope already, but they never forget to nail the core, right? Like they never leave the battle royale, the core of what makes most people play the game, right? But at the same time, they're expanding that. There's racing in the game. There's, like I said, the Guitar Hero like thing, which is handling a niche that is gone essentially because those games don't get made anymore. And then on top of that, the Lego partnership that they had, which me and Morgan played, was actually a lot of fun and really well done. Um, but they keep expanding on all those things, and it's like I don't think people really realize how much and how much it takes and how many people are dedicated to keep that game thriving with new content, and not just new content but quality content, right? Like when you're taking something on
People
as a
just
gas
working on
game.
licensing.
Yeah, just licensing, exactly, like just that. I mean, I know someone personally who works for them, who does she's an underwriter, so she works on, like you said, essentially licensing. She's writing the contracts, making sure everything looks good. Like, but her whole thing is dedicated just to Fortnite. That's the whole reason they hired her. Um, but yeah, that's the type of dedication it takes just to get that done, and especially when you're a smaller studio, right? Like the guys who did Helldivers 2. If you've seen the tweets from the guy who was the president previously, he stepped down from CEO so that he could focus on helping them, focus on the game because the business blew up overnight. But they're seeing how tough it is to ramp up, new personnel, especially when and on top of that, if you're losing personnel, keeping these people on board to do this content, because anybody you bring new in has got to get brought up to speed. All the custom things you've done with your engine, even if it's a middleware like Unreal or anything like that. Like there's so much, and then it's like in the meantime, if you're making changes to your game like they've been doing for Helldivers 2, and I bring up Helldivers because this is a recent example of a success for them, but it's to show people how quickly you can destroy that success with a couple patches, right? Like not
Oh
even
yeah,
necessarily adding
nerf
things.
nerf every build and fuck people over. That's basically what happened with Helldivers.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what they did. And he like I said, the prior president, he and CEO, he mentioned it, and he even stated, like, man, it's crazy. Like it seems like I get it. We've made mistakes. We got way too focused on, making things competitive and hard, and basically not fun. And I was
Yep.
like, I said the same thing. I was like, bro, people were having fun in your game. And it wasn't like, yeah, like the harder difficulties were there for the people who wanted to jump in on them. But like, if you're making that like hard from the gate, you're frustrating people the moment they jump into your game. Like, that's not what you want people to feel like. And they're learning a hard lesson right now. I mean, thankfully for them, their initial sales were strong enough that they potentially have the time to learn. But if they don't learn right now and get this stuff situated, all the money they made in the beginning is going to be irrelevant because they're eventually going to the game's just going to shut down. If you can't right the ship, regardless of your initial success, this is the problem with gas, right? Gas keeps going. You don't get to just launch a successful game, throw a patch or two and slide out. You got to keep patching this game. You got to keep giving me compelling reasons to come back. I need that big expansion where we're taking on the new enemy. Our ships are brand new. Our weapons are stronger than ever, more customizable. There's so many things they could be doing with this game that they're not. And it's even if from a successful game, it's a struggle. That's what I want people to see when it comes to gas. Like, it's hard, man. And I think that's the lesson that also you obviously seen coming from Warner Brothers, right? Well, the guy famously was talking all that shit about, oh, well, single players are volatile, so we don't want to do that. Even though their biggest success was Hogwarts. And everybody was like, man, Hogwarts 2 could go crazy. Y'all could do so much. Y'all could include Quidditch. Y'all could just go insane. The way the team was so dedicated to bringing a life like Hogwarts and living that magical life was brilliant, right? And they were just so like, nah, we're just going to go with some gas and go crazy over here. And all their gas games got destroyed. And now they're like, well, I think we'll settle for putting out, Hogwarts 2 and seeing if we can't outsell Call of Duty again. All of a sudden, that billions of dollars of success is looking real good as opposed to wasting a bunch of time trying to create some nonsense that you have to support constantly. Like, it's just, it's a mess. And it's not, again, it's not that you can't create one or it's not feasible. Like I said, I just think you got to put some respect on it, is what I'll say from a developer standpoint, and more so probably from a publisher standpoint, because they're the ones hiring these teams to do this and having them understaffed to deal with content updates and content stream from a live service standpoint. So yeah, I don't know. I'm glad these lessons are out here though, because a lot of people are paying attention. We obviously saw the big pullback from PlayStation and what they're going to do going forward. They cut back a lot on their live service games, if not by half, if not more now, and really refocused on what they want to do with that. But it's not, again, not easy, not at all. But it can be. It can be very enjoyable, can be really great. You know what I mean? The team behind Helldivers 2 could focus on PvE, making it as fun as possible, giving us more customization options. Focus on the things that people are loving in your game. And this is where, personally, I giving advice to developers, pay attention to the good feedback that you were getting from your fan base and utilize it. Because that was the mistake that Destiny 2 did, is they didn't listen to that feedback early on, got in the mess they did, dropped their fan base by over 70%, and then even releasing their most, praised, critically acclaimed expansion barely brought people back because no one cared at that point. No one cares that you reverse sunsetting. Don't, like, you removed half the game, you did a bunch of other nonsense. Like, listen to your fan base early on enough and you'll make some good decisions. Obviously not everything, but listen to the things that people want, that are screaming for. When there's 20 million people playing your game and 19 million people want more customization, you should probably look into more customization. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's very obvious sometimes, and developers can also get tunnel vision.
Developers are their own worst.
What are you saying, Omar?
Developers are their own worst enemy.
Yeah, they can be. What's up, Hero? I see you, bro. Yeah,
I have a
they
question to
definitely
you.
can be. What's up?
Do you think PlayStation have a leg to stand on when it comes to fair game and all other games? Do you think people are gonna even remotely support these games, especially with how Concord was treated? Because that's the thing with Concord. Yes, I'm happy they took care of it quick. But at the same time, that sent such a strong statement like, we're gonna drop you in an instant if you don't perform the way we want, we expect you to.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think they will if what we see looks good, but we haven't seen anything yet. Like I said, we barely know what those two games are. And then from what we know about development, is not looking great for Marathon and all the struggles that's going on with Bungie and transitioning from Destiny 2. Fair Games, I don't know. Like, we literally know zilch besides the name of that game. So, we can't answer that yet. But yeah, I mean, if they look really good and they look like they're gonna amount to something, yeah, I think they could still put those out and they could still do well. But like, you've got to show us something, and not, the way not to do it. I think was the way, again, like I said with Concord. Like, you need to show us a lot more of these games. You need to entice us a lot more. Make sure these characters look the part. Um, and give us a compelling reason to want to play these games. If you feel like you cannot give us a compelling reason to want to play these games, and from a developer standpoint, if you feel like you don't even want to play your game, then yeah, you're on the wrong track. So that's what I'll say. But yeah, as long as they think they are, and they can give us compelling reasons to play these games, and they actually have something unique to them, and they're not just more of the same of what's out here. Yeah, I think they could. I think they could definitely have a shot. Um, but again, like I said, we got to see more, see where they're going with that stuff. Because, like I said, as you can see, even a current success on the market like Helldivers 2 is now struggling with the live service aspect of their game. And it's not easy at all.
Is it fair to say that
Is it fair to say that what? Sorry, it cut out.
that game of the life service worst enemy is none other than single
Games as a service live enemy is single player games? Is that what you said? I must
You
have
heard me?
Nope.
it cut out. Yeah, what'd you say?
Okay. Is it fair to say that game of the life service worst enemy is none other than single player games?
No, I wouldn't say that. Live service's worst enemy is the
It's
live
live
service.
service
Yeah,
game.
it's live service. Yeah, the aspect of being
Games
live
too.
service. Yeah, that's their worst enemy because, again, like I said, right? Think about what we just talked about with Helldivers 2, right? We all well, most of us played it in the beginning, right? You and
Yeah, I
Nelson,
loved it.
I think both you and Nelson both have the platinum. Y'all went hard. Me
Yeah,
and Morgan had a ton of fun. We played with Priscilla. We played with everybody. My friends list was all lit up, right? Where is Helldivers 2 right now, though? No one on my
dead.
friends list is playing it. No one.
Nobody is touching it.
Yeah, no one is asking me. No one wants to hop back on it. Nothing. Live service is the biggest danger to live service games. It's what are you going to do with the game that is going to continue to compel me to want to play it? That's the issue. And I said
But
that early on.
another thing is if I'm gonna need to choose between putting my time and energy in single player or live service, I'm gonna go for the single player game. Like I'm playing so much and I'm already missing out on Wukong, Star
Or the
Wars.
opposite, but the problem is most of those people are already married.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. They're already married to the games that they want, right? The people they're competing for now, they need the people like us who are playing single player games. They want to give us that that compelling reason to play their game the way that Helldivers 2 did, right? Most of us are all in here pretty much single player all day long, right? But give us a good reason, especially something co-op, right? We're all big fans of co-op, but again, none of that's going to matter if your game has lost the reason or the compelling reason to play it. Like, and Hero said in the chat, the other danger to live service games is other live service games. And that is a big fact, right? I talked about that with MMOs. One of the biggest danger to MMOs when the time I played them heavily, and I played about 80 to 100 of them, was every time a new MMO would come out that we would like, and they'd have a gimmick or a thing that was really cool, World of Warcraft would typically steal that thing, name it something else, and put it in an update or or an expansion coming later, and half the time launch it before the game even came out. So that thing you thought that was cool that you were gonna do, and this, that, and the third, and you're gonna take players from this other game. Well, that game has way more content than you, way more players than you, is thriving, has its own expansion and ideas already, and they just took what was your thing and they put it in their game before you could even launch. That's how dangerous live service is.
I mean, yeah, we've seen it with WoW. WoW haven't recovered from Final
They
Fantasy.
seen PUBG. They changed that shit real quick, and
Yeah.
WoW haven't recovered from Final Fantasy beating them. 14.
Well, but WoW is still big though, right? So like, don't mistake
Yeah.
it. Don't mistake it, right? Final Fantasy 14 did up them, but WoW is not in like a detriment. WoW's downtime is like a down year for Call of Duty, right? Like there are people who are so long. Okay, let me explain. There are people who have played World of Warcraft for like 15 years. Like these people aren't going anywhere, and this is a large portion of people, right? They just, I know people who literally will keep a subscription to World of Warcraft for like a year or more, and even when they're not playing it. Like, so it's gonna be really tough to get that out, right? Like Final Fantasy's not gonna take all those people. What Final Fantasy did was what everybody dreams of, is taking enough of that fan base and then grabbing some new people, putting them together, and you kind of usurping that throne and going, hey, look, someone else could get in here, right? But it took the backing of a publisher like Square, it took a name like Final Fantasy, and it took still years and a reiteration to get the game to even start tracking.
14 started off hot either. I think it was they put into that for it to eventually catch on.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
shut.
I
I mean,
remember right.
they shut the game down.
14 went in an overhaul mode. 14 was basically 11.
Yeah, 14,
And
14, 14 came out and it shut down. It relaunched, and then it started getting big from there, and then it started growing from there, and that's when they eventually, passed them for subscriptions and so on and so forth. So it's again, it's possible. Well, like, yeah, and that is the WoW thing. Like I said, I was just saying that's not really a good example, only because WoW is still thriving and they're about to come out with another expansion. They're doing fine. They're not going anywhere. But that's what I'm saying though. That's the kind of backing it takes and the amount of dedication it takes to potentially, overcome the competition in live service. Like that's why you don't really see a lot of MMOs anymore, right? MMOs require a gargantuan amount of content, like an unheard of amount of content, especially nowadays more than ever when people literally play video games for a living on Twitch. Like these companies are constantly battling making and designing content for actual people who play their games that don't do this stuff for a living, because you got to consider these no-lifers, essentially people who are literally do nothing but play games, are going to play so much content and do so much in your game that you need to keep even that person entertained enough so that they're streaming your game and they're enticing people who don't know your game to play the game. Like it's that is another massive side of live service that is even crazier. Like MMOs, the content in those are just drastically different, right? But yeah, like I said, whatever your competition is, that's what you need to be looking at, right? In Helldiver's case, they didn't really have any direct competition, so they're their own worst enemy in this case, because they focused on the wrong thing, right? Their mission statement wasn't solid, and they focused too much on the make it hard, make it harder. We're gonna add more hard enemies. That's all I kept seeing in all their updates. We're gonna nerf this weapon because too many people are using it. We're gonna make it harder. And I was like, I remember playing the hardest difficulty when Nelson showed us what they were doing to just play on it, and having they had to put down all these turrets and do all this stuff, and and I mean it worked on that one level, but it was like that was already crazy hard. Like if you got breathed on the wrong way, you were dead. And then they were talking about putting out a harder mode than that. And it's like, dude, pay attention to your player base. If 90% or 80% of your players, what I'm saying, are not completing the hardest difficulty, the last thing you need to be worried about is adding a harder difficulty. You need to create compelling content and a reason to continue to people to want to come back, right? Like one of the coolest things and easiest things they could have done is create some more interesting gear. Like a lot of the gear just started to kind of feel samey. Like again, customization, stuff like that. The customization of our ships, different colors, different types of ships, like things that don't even require like a mechanic, right? Because your ship you don't fly it. It's just in space and it just needs to look a certain way. Again, these are things that sometimes, live service gets lucky enough to learn these lessons. Sometimes they don't. But again, this is why it's complicated, right? Concord's competition is not Helldivers competition. Like they all got their own lanes in live service. But the one thing that does not change is that content is needed and you must always create a compelling reason for me to want to play the game. Fortnite right now, as much as I don't want to play it and I don't really like the current season and some of the choices they made, just the skins and stuff and partnerships with Marvel alone are compelling enough to make me want to play the game. Like there's always something compelling me or pulling me towards that game. Even if I have an off season, whatever it is, there's always something they're doing that's pulling me, or other people that don't even play. Like Nib recently spoke about the concert, right? The first concert they did with Travis Scott, and then they had more with Ariana Grande and all these other people. And regardless of if you're into these people or know these people, these were phenomenal events that were recorded and shared by millions and millions of people and millions of views. And people got to see a side of Fortnite that they didn't even know existed. But that's the kind of content that you're delivering that creates content for content creators, right? People want to share your stuff to their viewers and their followers who also have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, and it proliferates through all of this stuff and essentially word of mouth and keeps your game going, right? Like to still be called the it thing all these years later is a testament to the dedication of the content and live service teams for some of these games that we're talking about. And that's the lesson they got to learn. And again, like Hero said, your biggest competition and your biggest issue is always going to be other live service games. Because if you can't compel me to play over the other guy, then you're dead already. But yeah, before we move on real quick, I think I obviously murdered it. But Morgan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, thanks for including me in this conversation. No, I'm just kidding with you.
Well, wait. But, before you even go, you played You played Helldivers, right? So, in the current state right now, do you feel like just to get your opinion as someone who played it with me, do you feel like you want to play Helldivers today?
It's like bussing right now. I just don't. I don't have time.
Fair, yeah, she don't have time. But forget. That's a great question by Innate. For me, no. I already played it. I got the plot. Despite everything that they've been adding, they nerfed so many things. It's just not fun anymore.
I mean, I haven't been back on it to know if it's nerfed or know how it plays, so I don't have an opinion on that. Mm-hmm. So I really can't answer that question because really the only thing really keeping me off of it is the fact that I have too many other games to play.
So that means they haven't compelled you enough to come back away from those games. Right?
But that's the thing, though, because there's other games that I also want to play, but I don't have time for.
What they do for me, I just don't have time for it right now.
But I'm playing Astrobot right now. That doesn't mean that I don't want to play No, that does not mean
No?
that. No. It just means that I have so many games lined up, I don't have time. Like, it's not about, oh, you're prioritizing single player over multiplayer. No, it's just I literally don't have time. If I had another clone of me, sure, she'd be playing Helldivers 2 all day, but I just don't have time. For me, like, yeah, Concord is definitely an L. PlayStation messed up, but I think they did the right thing pulling the plug early. You know, people were like, why are they doing it so quick? I mean, if something's not making money and it's bleeding you dry, you need to kill it immediately. Like, if it's suffering, take it out of its misery. Like, leaving it there to die.
Way of Old Yeller. You don't just sit out there and let it suffer.
Leaving it there to just not do anything for PlayStation wasn't going to do anything. And a lot of people were like, why didn't they make it free to play? They could have put it in PS Plus. And I'm just like, I thought that too, but then I thought about it. It's not set up to be free to play. Everything was given to you.
It wouldn't succeed if you paid people to play it. It don't matter.
Yeah, everything was given to you once you played the base price of $40. All the content, everything, all the future expansions, everything was going to be given to you at the price of $40. So it's not set up to be free to play. It's not set up to be put in PS Plus. So that was never going to work. That's why they said we got to take it and we'll reassess. Now, do we know if it's going to come back? We don't. It could just be gone forever. But that's why it wasn't just automatically put in free to play, because then they would make zero off of this game. Like, literally, they would make nothing because there's nothing to monetize. So this would just be a free game that they would be losing at millions on. So it's not set up to be a free to play game at the moment. But I mean, as far as the PlayStation's live service plans, like, you know, I see people are being, you know, I get it. People are upset and people are being harsh towards PlayStation and like, oh man, this is an L, this is a failure. But, you know, like we all said, PlayStation is a mostly single player focused company. This isn't their wheelhouse, right? That's why they acquired, like, you know, Bungie in the first place. You know, whether you feel that was a good acquisition or not, that's a whole different discussion. But that was the purpose behind the acquisition. So, I mean, does a fail suck? Yes, but at the end of the day, there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be trial and error. Like, we can't expect them to just be amazing at this off the gate just because they're really good at one thing, right? They're really good at making great single player experiences, but that's very different, as we all know, from live service games. So we can't really expect them to be able to pick up that talent and just put it in a whole different genre and be great from the get-go, right? It's going to take some fails and there's going to be some successes like Helldivers. It's just going to take time for PlayStation to learn how to, you know, navigate through the live service type of genre. And they're probably going to have some more L's, but
with a better eye, because I could have told you Concord right off the rip. I was like, this ain't it.
Yeah,
I agree. Sure. I mean, but the thing is,
I would even say the same thing with
me, Helldivers, when I had that shit pre-ordered for fucking
but
months.
The thing is, we only ever focus on, especially lately, their eye when it comes to live service. They've picked some bad single player games too, but nobody seems to be upset about that. But it's because people don't like.
The only one that I can think of is Days Gone, but that's about it.
No, I'm saying as far as everything, because it's like Forspoken, they backed that failed. Fort Solace, they backed that failed. Like they make plenty of partnerships with single player games that just don't pan out well. Yeah, but people only focus on the partnerships they make with live service games and be like, oh man, why would you partner with that? That you guys didn't see that was not going to be good. Like,
yeah, I agree.
And I get it because, you know, like I said, a lot of people don't like this path that they're taking, so they're gonna narrow down their scope and only look at the failures in that section and not look at the failures in others. But it's like PlayStation's not perfect, and I get it. You should absolutely give them the smoke, because this was wasted money, wasted time. But they're going to fail at certain things, and especially with not being in their wheelhouse. And I don't see them stopping doing this. I think they're making the right moves by, you know, right? They're learning as they go. They're pulling back and they're realizing what works and what doesn't. And I think that's a good sign, because if they were still releasing all 14 or whatever live service games that they had planned initially at the beginning of the gen, I think that would be a huge red flag that, okay, PlayStation isn't learning anything. They're just taking L's and not learning anything from it. But they seem to be learning from these experiences. And hopefully
12, I'm like,
that'll...
wait, 12? You're at least 12 of these in 2 years. Even if they are successful, you're going to eat yourself. Like, that don't make no damn sense at all.
But it's the thing, like, everything changed once Acta or Xbox bought Activision. Like, it really put PlayStation on a kind of a deadline of having to find something to make up potentially for the loss of that huge income and revenue that they get from Call of Duty. So, I mean, while I am not a fan of live service games in general, I understand why PlayStation is doing what they're doing. And, my biggest thing with this was, as long as it doesn't impede on my single player games, do what you got to do for your business, right? Because I don't want PlayStation to obviously go under or anything like that. I want them to be around, for generations, no pun intended. But so, do what you got to do at the end of the day to make your business successful. And I get, live service games generate a consistent revenue at a much lower cost than, these big blockbuster single player games. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's like I said, as long as you don't impede on my single player experiences. And this was kind of the point that I was trying to get, because yes, we had this huge L with Concord, but then we turn around and Astrobot is not just good, it's not just great, but it's just like, it's on its way to probably being the game of the year. And that's kind of my point. Like, what's going on with their live service isn't impeding upon the successes of their single player. Like, this is the Concord thing sucks, but it's not going to stop Insomniac from releasing a great Wolverine. It's not going to stop Death Stranding 2 from being amazing. It's not going to stop Naughty Dog from releasing their next great game. It's not going to stop Corey Barlog's game from being good. Like, they have, PlayStation has their studios that they're dedicating to that, with, the Jade Raymond studio, and then this studio with on that. But as long as
they gotta start looking
they're
at.
They're gonna greenlight a lot. I mean, it's because
I know,
it's just
but
what they're
I'm saying
trying to do.
You can't just have the PlayStation version of insert game title. Like, you got like something like Helldivers is unique, and there's not 100 of them out there. If you're gonna do something, you can't just be the blue version of X and X game. You know what I mean?
Sure. And I think that's kind of what they're learning. I think they're realizing, okay, Helldivers was a success. It's a lot different than what is usually out there. Concord's kind of more generic. We pulled the plug. I think they hopefully they've taken lessons from that, and they're realizing that, kind of a copy and paste and do what everybody else is doing kind of situation isn't going to work, right? Especially if you're not going to copy what makes a game successful, right? You can copy a game, but if you don't have that charm and that, that it factor that game had, the copy isn't even going to be good enough, right? It's just going to be a horrible tracing that everybody can see is not the real deal. So, and that's kind of what happened with Concord.
I have a question to you. There is rumors, I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not. We know about the rumor cancellation for Twisted Metal. We know about the Spider-Man one. The Spider-Man is confirmed, not a rumor. My thing is, they had a good concept, like the gameplay for the Spider-Man. That shit was bananas.
How do you know the gameplay was bananas?
Metal, because there's not something I don't like it. But then again, maybe the team just wasn't built for it. I don't know.
We saw the gameplay. We saw the screenshots. I remember.
So I agree with you, Omar. It looked cool, but we don't understand the design and what was happening behind the scenes about why that was cut. Right? There could have been some things that they ran into early on where they found out it wasn't feasible and cut it. This is, again, a perfect example of why leaks are bad, because there's several thousands of games that have gotten cut the
I
same
was just
way
about
that
to say
got
that.
cut that you know nothing about.
There's so many games we don't know about from the studios we like, whether it's Naughty Dog, Gorilla, Santa Monica, Bend, Sucker Punch, that were in concept that had, you know, maybe physical art or even
You like
videos.
them?
No, that was just, it's just, shut up. But, you know, that have been in concept that haven't come to fruition, that have been canceled, that we have no idea about. And that's why I think it's a good idea a lot of time to keep things away from gamers, because once they see something and they feel like, oh man, that would have been great, why they cancel it? Oh, no. They start crying and bitching, and they have no idea why game was canceled, what happened. Maybe it wasn't work, maybe the concept, maybe the gameplay mechanics weren't gonna function the way they of a gamer. They just start
really what do you want to call it? It would have got really boring, fucking
it's just
over and over
you
and over.
put something shiny in front of a gamer and they just, oh my god, but that could have been great, blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, you don't know what it could have been. We have no idea. And yeah, sure, an Spider-Man multiplayer game sounds good in theory, but we don't know exactly how that would have played. And like Nelson said, it could have got boring real quick, and it could have been like, all right, well, did that, on to the next thing. It just wasn't good in concept.
Doing those damn crimes around town all over again.
Doing the Spider-Man side quests all damn day. People would have been pissed. So it's just like, yeah, cool. It was canceled. It was, I mean, I wouldn't really call it a cancellation because it really didn't even get out of concept. So I don't even call.
They greenlit Concord and even supported.
Okay, wait. You got to run that back. Wait. You got to run that back. So they let Square Enix put Foam Stars on PlayStation. They didn't do nothing with that. They also did not. Wait, hold on. They also did not greenlight. Concord. They bought the studio, and that was what the studio was working on. Greenlighting something is when the concept is presented to them from one of their internal studios, and then they go for that. Did they?
Yeah, they were already in the midst of working on it when PlayStation bought them.
Yeah.
I get you on that end, but with whatchamacallit, what about Fontar, you don't think they paid money?
They paid absolutely nothing for that.
What do you? So you think exclusivity deals is?
You are under the impression
PlayStation was a test bed.
Yeah, you got to realize there are several games, right? You're paying attention to this because this is PlayStation. There are several games that come out on a single platform that have nothing to do with exclusivity. It's just the best place that they thought to launch the game first, and that was it. Like, games launch like that on PC all the time. There's no one to pay for exclusivity on PC. But several games launch on PC, then come to consoles later. So, no, I don't believe there was any exclusivity exchange for, Foam Stars. Other than outside of them.
There was a place to test first before they worried about putting it on other devices.
Yeah, they had to see what was going to be there. So you test on the strongest potential fan base you have. And obviously if it fails there, then you've got a problem, which they realized. It failed there, and they definitely had a problem. So, no, I don't think that took place. Now, to your end, right, I don't think nothing came from it, right? I think they were like, hey, take a look at this. Do you think you would, at least let us show it on your stage? This, that, and the third? Yeah, I think that took place. But, no, PlayStation didn't walk in there and drop a bag for Foam Stars. Absolutely not. So, yeah, no, I don't think that happened. But marketing deals and stuff like that, yeah, do happen. And, I just think that Square realized their strongest fan base is on PlayStation. Like, Nelson was saying, it was a test bed. And it failed miserably. So, obviously, you see the way that went. But, yeah, no, I don't think that happened.
Spend money on porting something that they don't plan on supporting going forward.
Exactly.
Question. With PlayStation now being so in this situation, do you think they are maybe just late on the Games Live service? or do you think they can pull themselves out of it?
Do I think?
Late as in what do you mean by late? Like getting in on the bandwagon or something? Is that what you mean?
Not the bandwagon, just like they're late because this lifestyle has been going for a while. Yet they were only focusing on single player games, and they were
I mean, I
relying.
said
I mean,
I
relying on the
yeah.
cash money that is Activision.
That's what I said. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said everything changed after the Activision deal. That's why they're now focusing so heavily on live service because now their
I'm
biggest.
aware, but do you think maybe they're late in the sense of they're not gonna be able to uh, find diamond what a lightning in the bottle, catch a lightning in the bottle?
No, they found it with
No.
Helldivers. As long as you make a
Because more people
is
are have their games on service, it doesn't mean it's going to be impossible. It's going to be more difficult than it was 5 years ago.
yeah, it's like saying a studio that is built today can't make a great single player game because PlayStation's been making them for 15 plus years. Like, no, as long as you make a great
Yeah, it's just going to
game,
be harder
people
because
will
you have
come.
more competition than there was X and
I
X
mean,
years
look
ago.
at Expedition 33. You could say they're late to the turn-based JRPG game. I mean, that's been one of the oldest genres, but they've got everybody's attention because the concept looks amazing, it looks refreshing, and it looks new, and people are excited to jump in. And even people who aren't necessarily turn-based fans are excited about the possibilities of
Exactly.
Expedition 33. So no, I don't think it's too late. They just have to nail the concept and nail the game like they did with Helldivers 2. And I guess not nerf it like people have been saying, but yeah, they can do it. It's just gonna take some time. It's gonna take finding that great concept. And like Nelson said, it's not easy to pull people away from other live service games, but if the concept is cool, people will definitely come. But yeah,
Perfectly stated,
And
Morgan.
and
not
uh,
clap.
all right. And also things might not be the same as when they started this gas push, because indeed they did this because of the Activision deal. But right now, I don't think Sony is that concerned anymore that they're gonna pull Call of Duty from PlayStation. Not now that
Oh yeah,
Xbox is actually putting games on PlayStation.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that was definitely the fear at the beginning, but now with now with Xbox essentially giving away their games, um, that's probably less of a worry. But you never know with these companies, because Satya will probably definitely not be there
These companies
for
are
forever.
always looking a way to get off. Like Epic's trying to find a way not to pay fucking Apple and shit like that too. Like these guys are always looking.
Yeah,
That's why it's hard. It's hard relying on third party for all of this or that,
yeah,
because they're trying to
exactly.
use browsers, they're trying to use whatever. So you're always relying on party.
And
I mean, these motherfuckers find a way to get out of
yes,
shit.
and I think that's another reason too,
One
because
person at a time.
the Activision, he's done, Omar. The Activision deal was a wake up call, like to not only like, okay, we lost Call of Duty, but we could potentially lose other big games. And I think PlayStation was just like, now, okay, we need something in house. We need something for us that nobody else can take away. Exactly. Nobody else can take it away from us. It'll be recurring income for us. We don't have to worry about somebody coming in buying it, and then we're, left with our hands open, like what the hell? Like no more surprises. Let's have our own big juggernaut that we can just, milk from for the recurring years. We need that because like Nelson said, an Apple or a Google or somebody else can come in and take some other big third party game away, and we be left scratching our heads like, what the hell are we going to do? So I think this just was kind of a wake up call and made them like, all right, we need to get on this ship. We need to get on this live service. We need to get something, and we need that recurring revenue from a big game so that we don't have to worry about somebody else coming in and taking, our biggest IPs. So I think that's really what it was.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely they definitely got scared, you know.
Yeah,
And
it definitely. It was like, wait, hold up. They're taking. Wait a minute. They're taking Activision. Oh
yeah,
shit.
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
they should have learned after the Bethesda deal.
Yeah, but I think Bethesda was a far less deal than
I get
Activision.
you,
Worth
but
anything.
that should have woke them up that,
yeah, but
hey,
that's not a live service.
That's
That's not
yeah. They
live
don't have any
service
live
though.
service. Nothing.
Yeah, like the
Yes,
thing
They
that
have a
it was them
game once
taking
every
away
5.
single player RPGs.
So
I think they were cool with that. They weren't pressed by Xbox taking
they
that. That's
have
not
one
nope.
fairly big game once every 5 years or so. Other than that, games do shit anyways.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, it was that big ass juggernaut. What that is Call of Duty that really had them like wait, hold the like y'all can take, but that's cool. That y'all can take, but that's bro. Don't
Yeah, like something
take
like
Call of
Fortnite.
Duty.
They gotta reevaluate finances if they lose something like Fortnite or something. You know what I mean? Like it really fucks with
Yeah.
their money.
You're
Mhm.
talking about Call of Duty generating over 800 million to a billion in sales and microtransactions. Like that is an issue from a business perspective. That is why you didn't see that reaction from Bethesda, because number one, PlayStation was smart enough to know that in order for those games to sell eventually, something would have to happen and they'd have to eventually capitulate in the first place. Because again, something that I said people forget is that Skyrim actually sold like 10 or 11 million copies early on PlayStation. Like the fan base there is strong, which is why you saw the reaction from Pete Hines when they were basically told to be exclusive, and they were upset when Activision was told they could continue to do what they wanted to do and remain multi-platform. That's why you saw that, right? But yeah, make no mistake, the money they count for is nowhere near Activision. That was a money issue, and yeah, they wanted to see if they could pull something out that they could, you know, rely on themselves, that would drive people to their platform just in case they lost Call of Duty. But yeah, you're seeing the struggle right now because before they even tried, for years, the ground is littered with the bones of those who have tried for it and failed. like
Not the bones.
No,
Yeah.
he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, make no mistake. Like that is what it looks like when people have tried to come for Call of Duty. And you know, Call of Duty went through that for a while too, because you asked that question the other day in the group chat. Yeah, Medal of Honor was running Call of Duty's numbers all day long until modern Call of Duty 4 showed up, and that was the moment, and then it just took off. And they swapped places and it never went back.
So why didn't Medal of Honor recover?
I mean, they just couldn't.
They really fell in quality, and then the multiplayer. The biggest thing was the multiplayer.
Yeah, the multiplayer
for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. It took over the world. Like it was the first of its kind where it actually worked well, and you could play with people. And yeah, I don't know how to explain it otherwise.
Yeah, and then you're talking about the sequel after that capitalized on that in a way like nothing you've ever seen before. OG Modern Warfare 2, again, remember I said the key is you want people like us who don't primary multiplayer, competitive PvP to want to play your game. Modern Warfare 2 famously pulled me away from everything. I mean, I fought for months against my friends to even try Modern Warfare 2.
That's all I played was the original Modern Warfare Call of Duty 4. I never even played Call of Duty. I played and that was about it. And then that came out, that's all I played for like 2 years.
Yeah, Call of Duty 4 was enough to pull a ton of people and already took over the number one spot. But when Modern Warfare 2 launched, there had been nothing successful on that scale. Like everybody I knew played Modern Warfare 2. Everybody. There wasn't one person not playing it. Everybody played it. Like it was weird if you didn't play it and you were gaming. Like it just didn't make any sense.
I never played it.
I mean, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That you were in a whole different situation at that time, right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about people in especially America you know what I mean, with the MLG League and everything else. Like everybody at school played it. If you played games, that was just it. Like it was that big. So that's what I'm saying. Like that was just, we haven't seen that kind of hit in a long time. There have been other games that have hit pretty well. You do have Valorant, which kind of, you know, ate some of what is it, Counter-Strike's lunch a little bit, you know, and they've got their own quirk. But make no mistake, again, that's kind of like WoW and 14, like you mentioned, right? Counter-Strike has so many players that getting some of them over to Valorant enough for Valorant to be successful doesn't really hurt Counter-Strike. What, like, that doesn't really matter to them. Like, Valve is just printing money. They don't really care. What Valorant did though is they ate some of their lunch and made it live service, because Counter-Strike is not really a live service game in regards to like a bunch of microtransactions and stuff. There's a player market for people swapping skins and stuff, but I mean it's very minimal as far as like the investment in the game. You unlock those boxes and then people can trade them for real money, but Valorant has skins and other stuff in its game, and that's where they were able to thrive a little bit more monetarily. But Valve doesn't have any overhead to maintain, so anything they make off of their game is just pure profit. But yeah, it's like I said, the world of multiplayer is complicated and varied, and yeah, there's definitely space for more. But your biggest key right now is, like I said, can you convince the people not playing these games to play your game? Because by doing that, you pull other people to play your game that play those other games, right? Like one of my friends who's still addicted to Overwatch played Helldivers 2 with us. I played Helldivers 2 with people I haven't played on my friends list literally since they've been on my friends list. People from Twitter who have been on my friends list for God knows how long. That's the kind of reaction you want.
Helldivers 2. I don't touch multiplayer like that.
But that's what I'm saying.
I couldn't wait to play with you guys. We had so much fun. The banter, the gameplay.
Yeah, it was great.
Killing each other, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what you want, but that's what you got to maintain, and that's the problem. That's the other issue. Like I said with live service, can you maintain that? Is the key is to start that. If you can start that strong, great, but maintain it and prepare a live service team ahead of time to be ready to handle your success if it does take off. That's what you got to be ready for. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's obviously varied. We talked about a bunch of different variations of live service and reasons why things thrived and why they didn't, and you understand why this is the case. So yeah, it's not any harder. It's just, again, it's a different game. You know, it's like somebody, like a golf athlete, you know, asking somebody, you know, who's a basketball athlete, hey, do you think playing basketball is harder than golf? You know, and like, you know, they're like, I mean, I don't really know. I don't play golf. You know, those are two completely different games. Both of those people are athletes for completely different reasons with completely different skill sets, but they're both sports.
It does feel like PlayStation is screwed. That's how it feels to me.
That's because you don't like live service games, Omar.
Oh, no. What I mean by that is it's difficult to nail that.
But wait, but it's also difficult to nail single player games.
I'm about to say that also is very insulting to what PlayStation does, because you're saying it like single player is easy and that's why PlayStation is able to succeed. They're succeeding it because that 90%
of single player games fail too.
Yeah, they fail just as bad as live service game. It's just you don't hear about it because there's no plug pulled because it's out there, so people buy it, people don't. But it costs money to keep a live service game up, so that's why
out of those 170 out of those 70 AAA games that come out, like 25 to 35 of them are successful and the rest are failures.
Yeah, exactly. Single player games fail just as badly as live service games, and PlayStation's able to do single player games so well because they have the talent. It's not easy. It's not like, oh, they just got it like that. No, it took time to cultivate that culture and be able to pump out all these single player games like that. Like they didn't hit it out the park with single player off the gate either, but people gave them grace and allowed them time to get to the point they are now. That's why I'm saying we have to do the same thing for the live service. It's going to take time. They're not going to get 100% right out the gate. It's going to take some time. They hit it out the park with Helldivers 2, but then they flopped hard with Concord. Will Fair Games or Marathon
PS1 PlayStation published 200 to 300 games.
Yeah.
How many of them were successful?
Well,
Yeah,
Concord, or I mean, will Fair Games or Marathon be a success? Who knows? We will see. Maybe that will dictate where they go with live service, but we don't know. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
What do you? I forgot what I want to say. I'll remember.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, we obviously discuss it in varying degrees, and this is a perfect example of why there's a multitude of reasons why any game can fail, whether it's live or single player. Like I said, I mean, we've seen tons of times how, the famous, leaked letter from Phil internally, basically asking how in the hell did they make The Last of Us Part 2? Why can't we do that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
wait, I never seen that letter.
Yes, you have.
We literally talked about it.
That was their
times.
internal team saying, "Bro, we're 10 years behind this shit."
I remember not celebrating it, saying that they can't touch it, but I don't remember them saying how did they make it.
That's literally them talking about it. Remember we talked about how they were like they put an internal team together to figure out how they made The Last of Us 2 because they were so perplexed about how to do it. We discussed that, Omar.
Yeah.
I forgot, but okay.
Yeah, essentially how can their teams manage that, right? Like we've talked time and time again about the difference in other single player games that we find good, but the difference when you start a PlayStation, first party game, how just the level is just completely different. When that logo comes on, you're about to experience something crazy when it's from some of their top teams. When we turn on Death Stranding 2, who cares what everybody else says? That all the world is turned off at that point. You're about to be immersed in something you realize is special on a completely different level than most of the industry, right? Like that's where PlayStation has gotten. But like I said, we've played other single player games that we again find great, but we know the polish and the production value and the fluidity in animation quality and all the other things that PlayStation has perfected in a lot of their top teams. We don't expect that level from all single player games. We love for it to be that way, but we don't expect that from every team because every team is not on that level.
Yeah. I mean, we were just commenting on how you absolutely hated Hellblade 2, right? And their production level was high and it's a single player game, but all those things, those are things PlayStation is known for, right? Like a high production single player third person game, but that's not all it takes to make a successful game. And it's not easy, which is why it didn't land for you because, even with those pieces that they did hit right, they were missing a lot from what makes a PlayStation.
Nobody bought that shit. I did. I regret it, but
the way you can be like, well, yeah, I did.
How did you buy it and not play it via Game Pass?
It wasn't on Game Pass yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, remember it was a 1 year PlayStation exclusive first.
That game was terrible. Ghostwire Tokyo, was that successful? Nobody bought that shit. Come on.
Yeah, that wasn't really a big success like that.
Hey.
I liked it though.
No, but
I liked it.
Nobody still bought it.
But yeah, you're right. It wasn't commercially successful though.
Like they weren't celebrating.
Even Wolfenstein 1 and 2 were great. Nobody bought that shit either. I mean,
oh man, you gotta say all that. It's like, yeah, we don't know what Indiana Jones is gonna be either. So it's just like, it's not easy making the trip. People think it's easy. Like, oh, all you gotta do is make a walking simulator.
Even some of the good games don't even sell and aren't financially successful.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that Street Fighter 6 only sold 4 million.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, true.
That's genuinely bonkers.
But that game scored like a 96 when it came out, and that's what I'm talking about. Like,
true. But it's like,
high.
But that's still in the top, like only like 5% of games ever reach that.
Yeah.
Or less.
Yeah. I'm about to say, you listen to
Like
this gaming
3.
community, and they'll have you believe
Like, you
that the
only sold 10
majority,
million? It's like
I,
that the majority of
0.5% of
games
games
sell
said 10
30.
million.
Yeah, they'll have you believing that the majority of games sell 30 million plus, and it's just not the
No,
case.
like 5 a fucking generation sell 30.
Yeah,
Like, I used to
Street Fighter
think-
selling 6 million is not bad at all. Like, it's a fighting game. Not everybody plays fighting games. It did very well for its budget, especially. It made its money back. It's a successful game. 6 million or whatever is not bad.
When we hear a game on PlayStation and sold 10 million in 1 year, we call it a success. I had no idea how much of a success that was, because now I read that like, this is blowing my mind. Street Fighter, the OG fighting game, sold 4 million. Like, I saw DMC 5 selling 3 million in, I forgot how long back then, and they were celebrating that. But for Street Fighter, yo, that's great. It put into perspective how Horizon just such a fantastic franchise that PlayStation was able to create.
You know what's funny? Street Fighter 5 is the best selling Street Fighter of all time that sold like 7 million. And that includes even like Street Fighter 2 with its 140 different versions since 1993.
Yeah,
I don't
and Street Fighter
know.
5 was exclusive for a
Yeah,
while,
long
wasn't it?
time. Yeah.
People
That's
think these
crazy.
games be selling like 20, 30 million. Like, nah,
Yeah.
that's not a real
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, that's why I tell you all the time, Omar, you got to separate yourself from a lot of the gaming community, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about half the time, and they're just saying things for clickbait or rage or to console war or being fanboys or whatever.
Mhm.
A lot of the times you have to that's why you just have to look at the information, put it into perspective of each game, and not be like, every game has to sell 10 million or it's a failure. Like, no, you have to put it in perspective for what that company's trying to achieve, the budget that game went into, the genre that game is in, and what that company deems as a success or not. And that's why I just laugh when people say, oh, this game didn't do it, this game didn't do it, it only sold 2 million, it only sold 3. Like, you just got to brush it off and just
Something like
just know.
Astrobot 2, it's, if we sold 1 million, people,
Right.
Because
Nah.
People are
this
gonna
game only needed
try.
500,000 to sell. It's not like if The Last of Us 3 came out and sold 1 million, and that wouldn't be good at all. But for Astrobot,
regardless,
they're very different in budget and resources and time, and they are not one of the same.
Like, regardless of what it does sell, people are gonna be like, if it doesn't reach the it's a failure. Like, that's just what they're gonna do. You just gotta learn to ignore that and just know that they're just doing that just to fanboy in console war. Like, it is what it is. Because I just have a feeling it's gonna be profitable for Team Asobi and Sony. Like, regardless of what the end number ends up being, I think it's gonna do well. Like, it's too good not for it to not do as good as it's going to do. And I know they're going to show it again probably at the Tokyo Game Show, and they're probably going to show it again at the Game of the Year awards, especially if they have like that DLC ready at the time. They're going to show it again, and when it wins again, it'll probably get another boost in sales, right? That's just how that is with the Game Awards. So I'm not even worried about it. Like, it's going to do well. But people, they need that number. They need that base. Oh, if it doesn't sell this amount, X amount, it's a failure. And you just got to learn to ignore that bullshit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, we obviously know, like you said, a lot of that rhetoric is just console war nonsense. It's quite evident when a game is successful, and I mean, the celebration from the Resident Evil team celebrating, I think it was 4 or 5 million when it surpassed it in like a year or a little over a year, and they were celebrating that success, and that was deemed a massive success for them for that. But again, Resident Evil 4 was also one of the highest rated games that had also came out that year, and yet you look at the sales, like that's why I said look at the sales that some of the PlayStation games get, stuff like You know,
Horizon.
the Horizon series
Look,
selling like
Horizon.
crazy. Spider-Man selling over 10 million in under 3 months, and it's like they'd have you believe those are failures, but we know who those people are that would have you believe that, right? There's just people being genuinely jealous when, you know, and of course, you know, the other games when it sells like Final Fantasy
Games
selling
don't-
over 3 million.
They don't say their sales for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, especially now more than ever. But even like Final Fantasy selling, you know, 3.6 or 4 million or whatever, you know, these people would
They'll be
have you believe that it was a
60 million
failure.
consoles?
Yeah.
Oh man, there are 60 million people and they every single person didn't buy Final Fantasy. Oh my god, that's a failure. Like, oh, okay, you got it, bro. You got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but we know better than that. And they're like, yeah, if they would have released multi-platform, they would have broke records. And it's like that's a lie. Like
There is no guarantee because we have seen, like you said, we've seen many a multi-plat game just do average or worse. Like,
yeah.
you're spending more money and more resources
Funny is
and
all these dudes
to
that
possibly
say,
have
"Oh,
a
it would have
Go ahead.
sold more if it came on an Xbox." It's like, bitch, you have a PlayStation anyway.
that's
They would've
another
sold more
thing.
copies.
That's another thing that I don't understand about people who claim to be multi-platform owners. They'll have their own multiple platforms, but then as soon as the game becomes exclusive to a platform that they don't prefer, they're like, no, I'm gonna wait till it comes
They
to my
complain
preferred
about
platform.
they all own a PlayStation anyway.
I'm like, what was the purpose of buying that other system if you're not going to play it for its exclusives? You bought that system because it has exclusives that your other system doesn't have. So why are you not playing those exclusives on that system? Like, what's the point? You might as well have just kept the that one platform if you're not going to play anything on the other one. Like, I don't. It makes no sense to me. But I know what it's for. It's for to be able to say, oh, I'm not a fanboy. I own everything. You know that. But I only play on one, really. But well, at least they claim that, because I know a lot of these dudes play these PlayStation games in secret. Like the people that are especially upset with Astrobot and its
That's
success.
what's obnoxious. Every one of these dudes that complain, well, why ain't Final Fantasy on PlayStation? It's like, why do you care? You have two PlayStations.
You
Well, I
literally
prefer
have a
Xbox.
PlayStation.
I'm like, okay, but you can still play the goddamn game. You're not affected. I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they care about, trophies and stuff like that. That's what they care about.
No,
But
they just want to
otherwise-
say they just don't want PlayStation it to be on PlayStation. That's it.
Yeah,
Because
that.
Yeah, no, you're talking
Yeah,
about
it's
like,
not where I prefer.
two people who are being facetious in their argument. Like they don't.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, if you really want to play the game, you'd play it there, right? Like I wanted.
Yeah,
you didn't
well,
see me
I want to play
complaining.
Mario Odyssey on my PlayStation. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm
I'm
gonna sit here
not.
and
I'm not
bitch about
waiting
it.
for that
Like,
to
get the
happen.
fuck out of here.
Exactly. Like even with games that I know are coming to multiple platforms, like with Indiana Jones, we all know for a fact it's coming to PlayStation in February or whatever. But I'm gonna play it day one anyway because I want to play it. I don't care. The people try to be like, I want to play it on my. Shut up! Like just play it where, like, if you really want to play the game, you'll play the game. You're not gonna sit there, especially if you already own the system that the game is on. You're gonna play it day one if that's what you want. If you really care about the game. Because if you don't care about the game, you're just gonna whine and use it as a part of your console war narrative. Just this community is just so annoying with people like that. Like people who aren't really genuine about playing. They just want points for their platform at the end of the day. And it's honestly sad because a lot of people are using Astrobot as part of that. Like, oh man, what about this Xbox platformer? It didn't get the praise it deserved, but Astrobot gets it because it's a PlayStation. Oh, like, bro, you haven't even touched the game. How do you know it doesn't deserve the accolades that it's getting? That it doesn't deserve the praise it's getting when you haven't even touched it? You don't know, and you're just assuming, oh, because it's got the Sony logo. Even though those same reviewers like gave Concord like a 60 something on Metacritic, but I didn't see y'all upset at that scoring. But they gave Astrobot this, so now they're biased again. Like again, these dudes are just on a whole different path. They're not really gamers. They're just all about putting check marks beside their preferred platform and their preferred platform winning at the end of the day. Because it's like if you're a gamer and you really care, and especially if you like platformers, you're gonna be playing Astro.
Indiana gets like a 76, and they're gonna know. Oh my god!
God,
Here
please
we
don't
go.
let Indy get a bad score because we're never gonna hear the end of it. But it's just, yeah, if you own a PlayStation and you care about platformers, like Astro Bot is a game that you should be playing. Like you should be complaining. Like you should be happy that we have a great game to play and there's a good game that came out. Like especially in a time where people are so upset about games recently, like, oh man, this one's got an agenda, that one's got an agenda, blah blah blah, all that bullshit or whatever they're spewing. You know, it's just you should be happy that just a game or whatever has come out and is getting the praise it is, and a platformer is rising above in this era of gaming. But instead you get upset and you cry and you try to use it as a console war token, and it's honestly sad to see, because if a game's great, I don't care. Like I praise the hell out of some Pentiment. I loved Pentiment. It was great. A lot of Xbox players didn't play it. I kept tweeting about it. I was like, play it. It's fantastic. I love it. Other people should play it. And I didn't care that it was an Xbox game, right? I enjoyed Hi-Fi Rush for how little time I put into it because I've been so busy. But I'm gonna get back to it because I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a great game. Like it doesn't matter the brand behind the game. If the game is good, it's good. You shouldn't care that a game on another system is getting highly rated just because it's not on your preferred platform. But
exactly.
you know how these dudes are.
Mm-hmm. No, but to your point,
Xbox, you should be used to it by now. With PlayStation and Nintendo being the other platforms, y'all should be used to this shit.
Yeah, to your point, Thrifty. So yeah, so she was speaking specifically to people who have those available platforms but are skipping it and saying crazy stuff like people who have a PlayStation 5 and are like begging, pleading, and crying for Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, if you don't own the console, that's a completely different argument, right? You don't have it, you can't afford it, or whatever your system or whatever. That's a completely different argument. You want the game when you're on that platform because that's the only one you have. Then that is perfectly reasonable. I'm talking about people who are multi-platform owners who have that PS5 right there, but they prefer Xbox, so they refuse to play the Final Fantasy on their PS5.
The people you hear online. Let's just keep it a buck.
Yeah, it's just like you have the PS5. Why aren't you not? You want to play Final Fantasy apparently, but you refuse to play it on that system that you have. Why? That is the stuff that bothers me. I'm just like, I don't get it.
I mean, I never understood like buying a console that apparently is missing like 67 of the games you want to play. Like I'm like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Like you are literally like it was like I was complaining the other day to Omar that there was a conversation happening about them being excited that obviously this is the same regurgitated rumor about Final Fantasy coming to Xbox. They're talking. It's the one where they were talking about Pixel, the Pixel or whatever, which I thought that was already confirmed.
Yeah. So
by the way,
apparently the rumor is 16 Pixel remaster, but also 7 remake. That would be wild.
Yeah. So, but the point is, in general, like these people having the conversation are not just even asking for that, right? Like in the immediate conversation following that, they're asking for like 15 other games, and I'm like, okay. There's a point where if a console you don't have has over a dozen games or 24 games or even more, you probably want to own that platform if you want to play these games as bad as you claim. That's my thing.
Exactly.
That's why I said these people are lying or something else. Like something is wrong.
I'm like, are you a JRPG fan or are you an Xbox fan? Because if you're a JRPG fan, you're going to go where the JRPGs are, whether that's Nintendo to get a Switch or PlayStation or PC or whatever where your JRPGs are. But if you're an Xbox fan, you're just going to wait over there and complain for them to come over there to your system. So, I mean, that's just my perspective. That's just my point of view. But that's what it seems like to me, because I'm like, I'm going to go where the game's at. If I want to play a certain genre and they're all on one system or two systems, I'm going to go get those systems, because that's where the games are. I'm not gonna sit here at my system the remake. That's one in particular where I'm like, it's one thing to own multiple platforms and you want the game on your preferred one and it's going to come in like a year. Cool.
Yeah.
If you just want to wait, then wait. Cool. Like, it's a timed exclusive or there's a short deal on it. And so you just rather wait until it comes to your system. By all means, wait. I don't have any issue with that. But it's been like 4 years with remake, bro. Just play it on your PlayStation or your PC or whatever. Like, you've been waiting, sitting there for 4+ years for this game. It's insane, especially if you're a big fan of Final Fantasy VII in particular. Like, bro, like what are you waiting for? Like, just go play it. It's available right now. Go play it on those other systems. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the big issue, right? It's like, that's why I said at this point, like, I have to gather that some of these people are lying. Like, you have to be lying at this point. Like you saw me on another podcast the other day, right? I was on the TWS podcast, and Cozy basically was like, they were trying to convince her, why don't you get a PlayStation? But she literally was like, I only like this game and this game. I immediately was like, that's fair. Because, like, for me, I'm like, I always say my rule is if I can't at least say there's 5 games that I personally want to play, like, I'm talking bad, and they're not available anywhere else, like, I'm probably not going to invest in that system, right? This is a big reason why people tend to invest in Nintendo systems, right? But vice versa, right? A bunch of the games that Nintendo's famous for, there are tons of gamers who just grew out of that. They don't care for their games anymore. They've played enough Mario. They've played enough Zelda. They've played enough of those games, and they're like, and they're also not into JRPGs. So they're like, what's on offer on Nintendo ain't really my jam. So I'm gonna chill. All right, cool. Like, that makes complete sense. But again, if you are asking for game number 567 to come from PlayStation to Xbox because you're a big fan of these games, you're lying. Bro, you're not skipping all these games telling me you're a fan, right? They famously, I can't remember the name of the account. This account is so annoying. They claim to be a JRPG fan, but they refuse to play them on anything except Xbox. Like, that is crazy to me. Literally crazy.
How can you be a JRPG fan and have an Xbox? That makes no sense at all.
My point exactly. I'm like, so you are an Xbox
like, you didn't
fan.
just choose. It's like you didn't just choose a console that that has a few. Like, you choose the one that literally barely has any JRPGs. Like, yeah. Bro, you chose the least of all of them. Like, you chose the last place one. Really? That's okay. You know what? Let me stop. It's just like, especially for that. That's what I'm saying. For that genre, you literally chose the box with the worst selection of JRPGs. Like,
exactly. Like, but they complain about it. I'm like, how are you complaining about this when you made an active choice?
Actively avoiding that genre.
Like, bro, that's like me telling you I need 4x4 all-wheel drive, and I need ground clearance of 14 inches, but I bought a Toyota Corolla. Like, what are you doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
I don't get it.
That person basically, they made an active choice and want to be mad at the developers and other people involved with these games because they're not coming to a platform you actively knew was not going to have those games in the first place. But that's why I said it's like this constant fight and this constant battle. It's like PlayStation. I'm not over here saying like they should or shouldn't, but I'm like, they don't owe
Switch
you
for
anything.
Call of Duty. I brought my Switch for Call of Duty. Like, what?
Exactly. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's what these people are essentially doing, and that stuff always kills me. Like Hero said in the chat, right? He kind of grew out of a lot of what, Nintendo does. Like, I've seen plenty of people do that, and I get that because the reason I personally have a Nintendo Switch is because of the exclusive JRPGs and stuff on it, right? Like, I made that conscious decision that's what I like. I have some of those other games that are not really for me because Priscilla plays those games, like the Breath of the Wild and some of the Mario games. But there's enough RPGs and stuff for me that it warrant the purchase for me alone, right? So I don't play Animal Crossing. I don't play Mario Odyssey and all that other stuff. It's not my jam. I can't get into that. But Fire Emblem all day long. But give me some Fire Emblem, and I'm there. Triangle Strategy originally was only there. It did eventually come to PC, but again, I didn't expect all that. It was exclusive originally, and guess what? I bought Triangle Strategy on my Switch. Same thing with the game that Morgan bought later. The JRPG that has like multiple different smaller games in it. I forgot what it's called right now, but I can't remember.
Live.
Yeah, Live. Yeah, there you go. So but again, I didn't know it was coming anywhere else. I bought it there. Octopath Traveler. Yeah. I bought it on Switch because it was there first, and that's the only place it was. I didn't go and be like, shun them and be like, how dare you not put it on PlayStation? Yeah, I wish you did because I would have played it there instead. But they wouldn't have gained an additional sale. They would have just gained what is called a transitional sale, meaning I would have still bought the game. It just would have been elsewhere. So it's like, I don't know. It's lots of things with that. But, man, people frustrate me this generation with this nonsense. Again, people talking about this. But it frustrates me mainly because it's punishing to the developers and the publishers, because you got people out here lying about how much they want to support these games. Then when the games finally do show up, they don't buy them, they don't support them, and the developer or publisher incurs increased cost in development and other things that come along with multi-platform development, only to just have a worse return because it was really just 5 people yelling on Twitter that
speak on it,
they wanted it,
and then people get upset when they start turning into live service because y'all not buying the games that y'all claim y'all want it. But That's a whole different conversation. But I'm just saying.
Exactly. But yeah, like I said, this has been a great discussion. We've segued into a billion things, and the chat has been super awesome and engaging with this stuff as well. But yeah, I don't know. We'll cover the last topic. We're again not going to get to the 5th topic because I also don't want to go over it because of the whole cutting out thing with Discord. So hopefully Discord gets that ironed out, and we've already had a really good discussion that was deep, which is the point of that 5th topic, and that 5th topic can be incorporated literally any week. So the last thing we'll just cover quickly. My initial thought to this is no before I even say what it is. Because that's been the MO for Microsoft this entire time. But Phil Spencer ended up stepping in, as reported for the Entoria game, in order to ensure that, they finally get through the process. They got responded to, and they're able to get the game to still come over to Xbox on time. But the question is now, obviously, from that, all that noise that had to be made, all those retweets, all those likes, that publicly had to be made in order to get Xbox's attention. Will they learn from this going forward? Are they going to be more proactive?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not even just because it's it's Microsoft, but also because this isn't even the first time that they've had a communication issue with the developer. This is I remember another indie developer. I think it was earlier this year. I can't remember who. So it was a really small. They said the same thing, that they couldn't reach out to communications and get their game certified. So the fact that this had to be a second time means they haven't learned from the first one. So no, they're not gonna learn anything from this. But go ahead, Weeb. I'm sorry, you had something to say.
Well, I'm trying to get a hold of them to get a what do you want to call it, a kit or whatever for 16 months or so. And then they just kind of fuck it, we'll worry about them later.
Yeah, because I think this was part of their little indie thing that they have, the Xbox ID.
Yeah,
I think this game was a part of that. It's how you have a game that's part of that showcase that's to put spotlights on indies and things of that nature, and then you don't help them get on your platform. And apparently they had to cut a lot of jobs from the certification department at Xbox. So they're probably understaffed and underfunded, a lot like their marketing department.
Well, they had to, or they just.
Oh no! I think they just did. Because why do we need those people, right? Why do we need the certified games?
That's why. Oh, that's why.
Yeah. Exactly. So, as per usual, the departments that they really need, aka the certification and the marketing department, are the ones that they give the least attention to because it's Xbox. So why would they? So I didn't know. I don't expect them to learn anything, but it did make it did its job and made Phil look like a hero because he came through and saved the day after being tagged by 20,000 people. He came through, put them in communication with the certification department, and now they're working on getting the Xbox port out. So I'm sure we'll probably get another one before the end of the year happens. Because this is probably how developers are learning that they have to get in contact with Xbox. Like the only way they can do it now is going on Twitter and screaming to high heavens, like, somebody please help us, because otherwise Xbox is just going to ignore their emails and calls. So the only way they can do it is to get the community to get Phil and everybody's attention. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more really small developers doing this method, because if I was a small developer and I couldn't get the certification process, I would look at that and be like, okay, so that's what we got to do, huh? Let's go ahead and construct this tweet. Let's get the Xbox community riled up so that we can get Phil's attention, because he's not answering our emails, or the certification department isn't answering our emails. So I guess we're just going to have to get the community to rally around us so that we can get this game out. But this is one of the many reasons why small developers end up, skipping the Xbox platform. And like Nate was explaining earlier, people always think it's an exclusivity deal. PlayStation was money hatting. They did this, that. They spent money to keep it off of Xbox. Yeah, it's like, no, it's they skip it for multiple reasons that have nothing to do with PlayStation actively making a decision for it to not come to other platforms. And I think that idea has started to resonate with a lot of Xbox people, that, okay, maybe it isn't money hatting, maybe it isn't PlayStation. Okay, shoot. Well, I think, but it's having a negative effect, because it's making them very defensive. So that every time a developer comes forward and says, like, oh, we can't get it on the Xbox because of certification, we can't get it on the Xbox because of the Series S, we can't get it on the Xbox because we have to prioritize one platform at a time, they go into full defense and attack mode, and they start getting on the developers. So they were calling these developers a liar, like, when they tweeted that initially. They were saying, you're liars, you're being money headed by Sony, you're just saying this to get attention, blah, 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 blah. And then when they turn around 2 days later and said, okay, but the studio literally tagged Phil Spencer and said, thank you, Phil, and the community. We got in touch with the certification and were able to expedite and get the game ready for Xbox. And I'm just like, so are y'all gonna apologize for calling them liars? But exactly. Are they? No, they're just doubling down. They're just like, oh, I mean, yeah, you just did that for attention. It was a lie. And they're gonna do the same thing with the next one, because at the end of the day, it's not, and I'm not saying this is Xbox fans, I'm talking about the fanatics, because there's plenty of fans who were really helpful in tagging Phil and trying to get the higher ups attention. I'm talking about the extremists on in that community. And it's like the next time a developer reaches out, they're going to do the same thing, because they're hurt by the fact that they know for a fact that it's an Xbox issue, but they don't want to have to deal with that. They would rather blame every other source besides Xbox, because they have tied their identity so much to this piece of plastic that anytime there's anything negative ringing around it, it's a personal attack. Okay, you're attacking my integrity, you're attacking my intelligence, you're attacking my decision making, because I have attached myself to this piece of plastic. So anytime you say anything negative about it, that reflects on me. So they get so defensive, they start attacking people, attacking developers, telling, oh, it's a crap game anyway, nobody wanted it, I didn't want it anyway, I'm not going to support it because you're not coming to Xbox, even though they want to be on Xbox. They said it. They said they have the port ready and they're actively trying to get on. They just can't get a communication. But no, that's not enough. No, you didn't do everything you could, so I'm not going to support you. And it's just like, most of those people weren't supporting the game anyway. So that's a hollow ass threat anyway. But it's
great. You brought your game to Xbox. I'm still not going to support you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it's sad to see. Like, I hate people like that because they just are reactionary. They don't think to do research and figure out the situation. They just see no Xbox and all they see is red. They immediately go into attack mode. They don't want to hear anything out. They don't want to see, okay, this is the reason why. They've explained it. They're doing it. And then when they come to find out a couple days later that it was the truth, they don't back down. They just double down on it and they don't care. So it's just sad because it's but again, that's what happens when you attach yourself to objects like this. You get irrational. And it's insane to see. But I'm happy that the developers figured out because porting it costs money, and they would have wasted money making an Xbox port for it all to go down the drain if they couldn't get it certified. So I'm glad they were able to get it certified, and they're able to gonna get it pushed out for the people who were looking forward to the game. So I'm happy that they worked it out, but I don't think that this will be the last instance because Xbox's department, when it comes to that, is notorious for not for not paying attention to developers and for being extra hard. Like I've seen many developers said that the certification process for Microsoft or Xbox in particular is much harder than it is for PlayStation. And you have to go through a lot more hoops on Xbox to get your game, greenlit versus PlayStation, which is why a lot of PlayStation, why a lot of these smaller games are either exclusive to PlayStation or they're on PlayStation, PC, and Switch, and not Xbox, because it just takes more work. And that's something Xbox needs to work on. Like I mean, if I was Phil, I would put a priority on that because indie games. Y'all know me. I love indie games, and they have been some of my favorite games this generation. And to be able to not be able to play those games because of something as simple as a certification didn't go through would it would piss me off so much. Like I think Phil needs to address that. He needs to do what he has to do to I don't know, move some funds around to help that department out and get people over there and at least make the process simpler so that they don't have to go through 78 different steps to get their small game recognized over there. But again, this is Xbox and they don't really ever seem to learn anything. So I would not expect anything to change from this situation, but I'm glad it got resolved. But yeah.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you on everything you stated. We speak about the woes of development and the issues that people face with getting their games on Xbox or even considering their games for Xbox for multiple reasons. Like you said, cost of development versus return. ROI is very important in a business standpoint. For people who don't know that, return on investment is important when you're investing in things. But apparently people on Twitter don't think so. Some people, anyway.
They really believe PlayStation money-hated it, as always.
That's their answer to everything.
That's the go-to. If a game is not coming to Xbox, that's the automatic excuse. They don't even bother to see, because half the time the developer will tell the reason why, but that reason doesn't matter. It's PlayStation. These developers are lying. PlayStation paid money for this small game that this smaller title that wasn't on a lot of people's radar. They prioritized making sure that wasn't coming to Xbox for whatever reason. It makes sense. In the grand scheme of their business, it would make sense for them to make sure that this particular title didn't come to Xbox. But yeah.
Yeah, it's always a mess. But obviously Morgan was going ham and tore it up.
Sorry.
But no, perfectly stated. I mean, the chat was agreeing with you. Everybody was resonating with what you were saying. I mean, it made total sense. But Weeb, do you think anything's gonna change, or how do you feel?
No.
Yeah, see, yeah.
At Microsoft, that's their motto. We never change. I mean,
that's the motto.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
We're
actually...
always going to be third place, no matter what we do.
No, I mean, we
Facts.
is not wrong, though. Microsoft is kind of the do what we want company. I mean, they've stated so at several points.
Yeah. I mean, it is quite typical. Like I said, like if they cut a lot of jobs in that certification department, and I mean we heard that before, and then they're making it easier with their demands that the parity clause with the Series S and the Series X. Um, that they then occasionally drop for something really huge like Baldur's Gate 3, but as far as I'm aware of, still exists. So it's not like if you're not that big of a deal, then you don't really have a choice. Either make sure that there's feature parity, or you can release it on Xbox. And I mean, yeah, like Morgan said, they can use any indie or bigger game that they can that they can get their hands on. They're not really in a position to be choosy. With all their studios they have, they're still running into the problems that they've had before. They don't know how to manage studios, so don't really have a cadence of actual predictable game releases. Uh, and the guarantee in quality. And even with that, they're still forced to release their games on PlayStation because they do realize that they're never going to make that money back if they're just going to drop everything on their subscription service, especially the day and date, which are also sort of moving away from. So yeah, I mean like Morgan said, it's not the first time. It's not going to be the last time. They're not going to learn from that. It's management by exception, right? They're when something raises a stink and gets enough traction, Phil's gonna step in and be the hero again. And nobody's gonna question him like, okay, Phil, but we've done this rodeo a few times now. Why aren't you changing anything? No, and he's gonna even if somebody's gonna ask him that, he's gonna make up some bullshit word salad excuses why you can't change that, and people are gonna forget about it the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Hmm.
um, so yeah, nutshell, nothing's gonna change. They're going out of the way to sabotage themselves again and again and again, L after L after L, as Luca would say. Uh, it's it is what it is. I mean, and all these well, pseudo gamers or paraphilic gamers or whatever you call them, who basically are using osmosis to actually experience the joy of gaming because they're not actually playing any games, and they're sitting on their couch crying while we are having the time of our lives, enjoying
Preach it.
GOTY of this year. And I
Amen.
mean, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, if that's what you choose to do, if that's the life choice that you've made for yourself to tie your identity to a console and not really caring over whether actually you're going to play games. I mean, like if I was a developer and people were fucking complaining about me that I was lying because I couldn't get my game on their platform despite trying, then I'd say fuck you, you're not getting my game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Uh,
I mean,
uh,
yeah.
and last but not least, Nelson had to drop. He got to go take care of the kids. So shout out to Nelson. But Omar, do you feel that anything is going to change at Xbox following
No,
this getting Phil Spencer's attention?
no, no. I have a reason for that. I specifically followed this one very closely because I was genuinely curious why were they acting like this, the developers. Then I did one single thing. I scrolled down, and the flood of actual developer thing. Yeah, we have had the same issue with Xbox with Microsoft ourselves, so I'm not surprised. This is something that we have run through. We had to. we chose not to put our games on Xbox because of that. Um, I forgot which game what's called, but that cat one, that cat game with the skateboard, that's skipping Xbox.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just don't remember the
Yeah,
name of it.
the Cordy something game. Um, it's skipping Xbox. Like, how are you as Phil Spencer okay with that? Why must Phil Spencer step
Oh
in?
yeah, the cat game is that the demo was actually pretty good, so they're missing out.
I enjoyed it. My issue is not my issue. My thing is with this leadership. Um, I truly believe, and you can guys disagree with me all you want. This is Xbox worst generation ever. I'm
Nah,
I'm
no, no,
I'm
no, we're
gonna
not doing that. We're not
I'm
doing
gonna
that.
I'm gonna explain why though. Between them having no leadership, Phil Spencer is not a leader. I'm sorry. Your leader, you're not gonna bend the knee to such degree that you have no identity. You have no identity. You greenlit a piece of shit console that multiple devs inside your own studio, inside your own wheelhouse, worried and told you not to greenlit, which is the Series S. It's not outside developers that warned him about it. Inside developers and coalition and stuff like that. There is rumors that inside studios inside Xbox they didn't want this. They want them not to create it. It's gonna create problem. And what happened? Did Phil Spencer listen? No. So that's another thing. And then the third thing, if it's not parity law, it's it's this whole bug that is notorious on with Microsoft. Like if you compare that and compare that they haven't grown a single player IP that they can go back to, they are in an obscure situation right now. And to me, it feels like it's the worst they have ever been. While in the past you could excuse that to them not having enough studios, now studios that they're by getting dismantled left and right. Like I can't stress this enough. In a perfect world, Tango Game would have never closed, but we live in a Microsoft world where they dictate what happens. And this is the dude. And the crazy part is, Phil Spencer is the same dude that want to create a relationship with Japan, yet went out of his way and closed Tango Game. You're only Japan studio. The amount of mismessaging from this dude is astronomical. And what happened? Only because and get this, only because games are going to PlayStation after being exclusive to Xbox, only now they're asking for his head. Not one game, not one their studio, their console was having their game skipped for a while. Like for example, Baldur's Gate 3 not putting their games on console because they were having issues with Series S and had to downgrade significantly to make it work on the Series S. Not that, no, but because PlayStation putting their games on PC, on Xbox putting their games on PlayStation, after saying that it was exclusive, that's what made them butthurt. Like that's the frustrating part is their own fan base don't care about Xbox. Why should Xbox themselves care about Xbox? And that's the situation that they see themselves in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of issues with the decisions they've made from the start of this generation. Um, for me, like I said, still their worst generation was the Xbox One generation for me. I still think this gen was better
Yeah,
than that. Yeah, yeah,
I
If
agree.
not for them now owning studios already, and we've seen what they have done with them. So there is no hope, zero hope for them.
yeah. I mean, we're gonna see what they do going forward. See if they can at least start to get some of these games to land, and go from there. But yeah, like we all agree, like we don't really think anything's gonna change. I mean, I think they've kind of proven that. Um, I mean, the Microsoft philosophy, like I said, I've been apprised of this company for too long. Microsoft, not necessarily just Xbox. A lot of people tried to separate them, and I tried to warn people you really can't. I mean, they're under scrutiny now for the Windows 11 picture taking AI program. That's a whole debacle. I'm not even going to apprise y'all of that because that is a mess. But yeah, something Stage said earlier. I wanted to address because he said something. He said that Xbox has kind of basically noticed that their best bet for JRPGs is Game Pass. But I mean, I agree, which is why I mean I think they had to do that, right? They have a choice. They had to put up the bag because a lot of these companies wouldn't have saw the return that was needed to be worth the effort putting those games on Xbox, right? And according to Xbox fans, if you give us enough of your games, that will build a fan base and we'll go from there, right? Um, so I agree they were on the right track there, but I mean that freebie session is over, from what we've seen.
So
So
Metaphor is gonna tell gangbusters now.
I mean, according to them, that's what should happen because they got Persona 3, Persona 5 Royale, Persona 4
Mhm.
Golden, all on Xbox, through Game
That's what
Pass.
I said. I said Metaphor is going to be the real litmus test to see how well the Game Pass strategy worked um for Atlas. So it we'll see. Like they had all these games in Game Pass to play when it comes to Persona, so it's not like they're not now well versed with those type of games from this particular developer. So with that, they should be well acclimated to play Metaphor. So I can't see any excuse that they could use for why not supporting it. I mean, it's not like it comes out in October. They don't really have anything. I mean, when does Call of Duty drop? November? I don't
Yeah, I
remember
think it's in
when.
November. Yeah.
Okay, and it's cuz coming out like the 18th or something, so it's like of October.
Mm-hmm.
So they got like a good month to play this, and there's nothing like indie doesn't come out until December. So what would be the excuse to not play this game? I don't.
I
I
mean,
can't find one.
ultimately, there really isn't one, and
Yeah.
it's technically not even the start of the test for them because the other franchise that Sega has been given up for Game Pass has been the Yakuza
Oh,
franchise.
Yakuza. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
Infinite Wealth was the first one not on Game Pass. So
Mm-hmm.
again, we need to see the sales numbers on that to see how that worked out. And I think it'll be very telling to see what happens in the future, with Sega, with that franchise, and what happens after Metaphor, to really see where they kind of go with this or what they're going to demand, from Xbox going forward. Because I think this is ideally the end of that contract where you're seeing these games no longer be on Game Pass, and now it's time to step up. The fan base claimed one thing, but again, this handful of people showing they're purchasing, these games on Xbox is not enough to warrant the development cost, uh, that it take development costs, whether that's time incurred, money, uh, and other things they have to sacrifice doing this, going forward, if it's not going to give them the ROI or the return on investment that they're looking for. So I'm interested to see how Sega will feel about that going forward. They're talking about, trying to focus about the money with their latest CEO. So we'll see what they say. Obviously, we ain't got to worry about PlayStation. The PlayStation collector's editions of Metaphor has already sold out. You can still purchase the Xbox
Yeah,
One.
Morgan bought already 80 copy of it alone.
All
On
right.
her own.
So yeah, so I mean, I think it's pretty telling that the only version of Metaphor not sold out, is the Xbox version. As far as like the collector's edition. So again, for a fan base, according to them, if you bring it, they will buy it. That's been their issue with Square, right? You won't give it to us. You won't allow us to buy it. If you would just allow us to buy it, I would buy it. So here is all these other companies trusting in you to do that, and now they got to put up or shut up. So hopefully Sega stands on business, and if they don't show up, they stop wasting their time with it, and move on, or at least make Microsoft foot the bill for porting their game to their system, because porting is not cheap, especially when you're talking about at a AAA level. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that going forward. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I mean, here I put an analogy. If I'm used to getting sex for free, why would I start paying for it? So I
I
mean,
am going to give Microsoft their flower, or rather Xbox their flower with this one. Kunitsugami, the game that you guys are loving. According to Phil Spencer, they supported them with money for the development for this one.
I mean,
So,
as they should, because I don't think the
hey,
game would have done any sort of numbers on Xbox otherwise. So shout out to them for that, paying attention.
yeah, shout out to them for that.
Yeah, it was a good game. So yeah, I'm not mad at it. Um, but yeah, for that we come to the end of our show, and we're gonna get ready to head out. Like I said, shout out to Nelson. He had to run. Like I said earlier, shout out to Kay again, out there working hard. Um, making
Working
her.
hard or enjoying Astrobot? Let me
I mean,
know.
yeah, I mean, doing both. Working hard, but making sure that the baby's also happy. Her daughter recently got Astrobot as well, and she was ecstatic. We got to see her expression and her excitement. Uh, we a couple of us got together and sent her some gifts. So she was able to get Astrobot. She got the controller and the plushie for Astrobot, as well as a T-shirt, the Astrobot T-shirt. So she was
What?
ecstatic, and she's playing a lot of that stuff. And
Did she
just
make a
cool.
video of it? If not, I have some words to say
Yeah,
about
there's
that.
a video of it, but nobody else knew,
Oh,
so she only like sent it to us that knew. But yeah, I can, if you want to see it. I mean, I could just tell her later.
yeah.
But yeah, there's a video of her getting all her gifts and stuff. Her birthday's coming up later this month, so we went on ahead and got her some stuff for her birthday, just so she could get into Astrobot the right way.
Yeah, respect to Kay, Super Mom.
Yep. But yeah, without that, we're going to get ready to get into our outros and get out of here. So, Weeb, where can the people find you, sir?
On my couch playing Astrobot. But other than that, you can find me on Twitter as Weep Sheriff with Infinite Rhizome. And yeah, great show again. Make sure you play Astrobot, guys, and Otter Nation.
Otter Nation.
Morgan, where can the people find you?
Yeah, they can also find me playing Astrobot. Yeah, guys, I've been playing Astrobot this entire podcast on my portal. I love it. It works fantastically. I don't see any lag. I'm killing it in the platforming with the portal. It's amazing. But yeah, you guys find me annoying the hell out of people posting nothing but Astrobot on the timeline. Yeah. So if you want more information on Astrobot, follow me on Twitter, because you'll definitely get more than you asked for. But hopefully maybe most of us will be done with it by next week, and maybe we could do kind of a mini spoiler cast and talk about it. But yeah, play Astrobot or play some games. Please just play something.
Play something.
Just game.
Please.
Play something.
I'm
Please.
begging at this point.
That's all. I'm just begging. Please play some games. But yeah, thank you guys for rocking out with us, and see you next week. Otter Nation.
Otter Nation.
Otter Nation.
And Omar, where can the people find you, sir?
Okay, so first of all, shout out to everyone that came through. Shout out to Viper as always. Hit that like button, share the stream out. Yeah, Morgan said it, play your game. Also, shout out to Morgan, she called it when I hesitated with Atrobot. I wanted it to hit the 94 meta 95, but I didn't think media is gonna allow it. But she nailed it. So shout out to her for that.
Where's my shout out, Omar?
I mean, you nailed it as well. So shout out to you as well.
Oh, thank you, Omar.
You're
Finally,
welcome.
recognition.
You get to get to say it now twice. But yeah, now with that being said, great show, great game, Astrobot, and yeah, play your game.
And yeah, with that, you can find me on Twitter at the Real Innate, playing games as per usual. So many to play. I can hardly figure out what I'm going to play half the time. That's kind of the struggle right now. It's a good struggle to have. I'm thankful for that struggle every day. So keep the games coming. Thank you to all the developers who work hard.
Thanks.
And give us these amazing games. Creating games is not easy, which is why all of us do not do it. But I can be super appreciative of the people who have the capability, who can get through all that math to get all these vertices and triangles to line up to make these amazing images, and the artists that draw them, and the concept art and sound design, and literally every single job. Down to the janitor, man. Somebody got to keep the bathrooms clean, to the people who serve lunch, whatever it is you do to get these games here. As long as you're a part of that, man, I'm thankful. Absolutely. Again, like I said, shout out to everybody that came through. It was cool to see one of my homies came through, Bad Nipple. It was funny because she lives in Australia, so it was funny that she made it. But yeah, even she's playing games. So yeah, that's been the theme right now, right? Like, we're just asking people to play games. I mean, it's a gaming podcast. If you're here, you're probably playing them. But there's been a lot of not playing games from a lot of content creators, sadly, lately, who are speaking about games they're not playing, who are some of the primary people who some people listen to. So it's a little disheartening when, there's people out here honestly enjoying these things or taking these takes to heart, that are getting misled, by console wars or other nonsense. And really, we should just be appreciating these dope games. So with that, I'll leave you with that message. And otherwise, everybody have a good night and enjoy gaming. Otter Nation, we out.
Otter Nation.